Recording in progress. allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening. I'd like to call the Milton Planning Commission of June 28th to order. This is a regular meeting of the City of Milton Planning Commission. I'm Kurt Nolte, and this is a 7-member commission appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations on rezoning, use permits, concurrent variance applications, comprehensive land use plan, and plan map, and other related plans and amendments to the zoning ordinance. In attendance tonight, we have Commissioner Trey James, we have Commissioner Ron Gilbert, we have Commissioner Sumit Shah, Commissioner Judy Birds, and Commissioner Fred Edwards is absent, as is Laura Wysong, I guess. So those two are not here. The petitions will be heard in the sequence listed on the posted agenda. I'd like to acquaint you with some of the rules and procedures of conducting this meeting. The applicant and all those speaking in support of an application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. The opposition will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present its position. If time remains, the opposition will be allowed to rebut. Since the burden of proof is upon the applicant will be allowed to make closing remarks, provided time remains with the allotted time. The staff of the Community Development Department will be keeping track of the time and will inform you periodically of the remaining time for your presentation. Each speaker must fill out a speaker card before speaking and leave with a staff member of the Community Development Department. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organizations, if applicable, before beginning their presentation. When an opponent of a rezoning action has made within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of the rezoning action being opposed, campaign contributions aggregating $250 or more to a local government official of the local government which will consider the application, it shall be the duty of the opponent to file a disclosure with the governing authority for the respective local government at least 5 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting. A violation of the relevant state statute constitutes a misdemeanor. Therefore, if you have contributed $250 or more to a council member and you have not filed a disclosure prior to the Planning Commission meeting, the city attorney strongly suggests you have someone else speak for your point of view. Each application has been properly filed with the Department of Community Development. Signs have been posted on each site. The matter has been advertised and the notices have been mailed to property owners affected by this zoning as required by the Milton zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission's recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council and Mayor for final disposition in approximately 5 weeks on the first Monday of each month at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. The Community Development Department has reviewed each application in conjunction with various agencies and departments, both internal and external to the city. Staff's recommendations, findings, and conclusions are here before us in written form, which has been made available to all petitioners and to the public. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, dialogue with the person speaking, or outburst. Please turn off all cell phones or place them on silent. All remarks will be addressed by the Planning Commission. Please show the same respect to the person speaking that you expect to receive yourself. In addition, the applicant shall not submit material to the Planning Commission during the meeting unless requested to do so by the Commission. All material that wish to be reviewed by the Commission in consideration for your application should be submitted to the staff of the Community Development Department to be included in the normal distribution packages to the Commission. Finally, to the applicant, if your petition is deferred in accordance with the Milton zoning ordinance, you are required to update or obtain new sign for reposting. Failure to update or repost will result in further delay. There are no exceptions. All right, do we have any general comment?
We do not.
Okay. let's go to the next one is the consideration of the action minutes from April 26th, 2023.
Move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Byrd, seconded by Mr. Gilbert. Commissioner Gilbert, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Looks unanimous.
Mr. Chairman? All right. I don't know if you're aware, but with all the fans and everything, we're probably having a hard time hearing. If you can pull the mics or speak into the mics as closely as possible, it will help us all out.
As long as you don't want me to start over, I'm okay with it.
No. Yeah, could you read the announcement one more time?
No, I lost it. I don't know where they are.
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. All right, so the next item, considerations of use permit applications, U23-02-3450 Hamby Road.
Good evening, Planning Commission.
Good evening.
Include you too. You have to yell in the mic.
You got it. The address is 3450 Hamby Road, U2302. Alternative Senior Housing Use Permit, Section 641844. The applicant is Tama Yuri, Daffiodot Community Services Incorporated. The site is 2.15 acres. The existing use is a single-family residence. And the request is for a use permit for Alternative Senior Housing, Section 641844, to use the existing single-family residence for a maximum of 4 residents. Here's the location map showing the area of the property. Zoning map detailing the AG1 zoning. Future land use map showing the AEE category. And here's a site plan submitted on May 3rd, 2023. Here is the adjacent neighbor map that details support from 3325 Hamby Road and 0 Hamby Road. Here are site photos showing all 4 sides of the existing single-family home. And here are directional photos from the house. So this is a north view facing Hamby Road, south view from the house, west and east. According to the applicant's letter of intent dated May 3rd, 2023, the applicant is requesting a use permit for an alternative senior housing facility for a maximum of 4 residents serving seniors 55 plus with intellectual development disabilities, supported by 1 full-time employee within an existing single-family residence with a total of 5,081 square feet. The staff member will support the individuals in the areas of need, and those include meal preparation, laundry, house cleaning, shopping, activities of daily living, and advocacy. The applicant is accredited through CARF and funded through the Georgia Medical Waiver. On May 23rd, the applicant was present at the Community Zoning Information Meeting held at City Hall. There were approximately 5 residents who attended this meeting. The majority of the residents were neutral and wanted to hear more information about the use permit request from the applicant, while 1 citizen voiced their opposition and wanted the house to remain a single-family type use. On June 6th, the Design Review Board chose to not make a recommendation, as the DRB felt their expertise was not needed given the outside of the single-family residence would not change. 1 citizen, again, voiced their opposition to the use permit request. The applicant held the participation meeting on Friday, June 9th from 5 to 6 p.m. at 401 South Main Street, Suite A6, Alpharetta, Georgia. There was a total of 1 attendee. The individual expressed support after receiving the information requested regarding the use permit. The required public participation form, Form E, was submitted on June 12th, which was then 7 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting the zoning requirement. City staff comments. No comment from the city arborist. Development engineer. The development will require to submit a land disturbance permit prior to construction of the additional parking on site. fire marshal. The space shall adhere to the community living arrangement requirement in Chapter 32 of NFPA 101 and the state modifications noted in 123.3 rules and regulations for the state minimum fire safety standards for community living arrangement facilities listed in Section 32.5. Public Works Department. A traffic study was not required due to the maximum occupancy of 4 residences. In reference to the environmental impacts of the site, it satisfies the requirements of Section 64.2126. Site plan considerations. Here's the definition for alternative senior housing, which means any dwelling, whether operated for profit or not, which undertakes through its ownership or management to provide or arrange for the provision of housing, food service, and one or more personal services for 2 or more adults who are not related to the owner or administrated by blood or marriage. Personal services includes, but is not limited to, individual assistance with supervision of self-administered medication, assistance with ambulation and transfer, and essential activities of daily living such as eating, bathing, grooming, dressing, and toileting. Site plan considerations, alternative senior housing, Section 64.1884, and the applicant meets these requirements. And note where the applicant is requesting a maximum of 4 residences. Use permit considerations. Staff has reviewed said items pertaining to the subject uses and offers the following comments. The proposed development is Zone AG1, located in agricultural, equestrian, estate residential land use category of the City of Milton 2040 Comprehensive Plan map. The proposed use permit for an alternative senior housing is permitted within AG1 zoning with Mayor and City Council approval. The adopted 2040 Comprehensive Plan states the following policy. We will accommodate our diverse population by encouraging a compatible mixture of housing types, densities, and costs within the city. The subject site is compatible with the adjacent nearby land uses and zoning, which include agricultural, equestrian, estate residential. The subject site is 2.15 acres, while every property that borders the subject site has a minimum of 11 acres in size. The property to the west is Zone AG1 and has a total of 19.3 acres. The property to the east and the south, shown here, is 11.1 acres, and the 2 properties to the north of Hamby Road are both 15.4 acres and 20.5 acres in size. The proposed use does not appear to violate any ordinances or regulations governing land development. Based on the type of use and scale of the proposed senior housing within the 4 residents, there will be minimal impact on traffic flow, vehicular and pedestrian on Hamby Road. 2 existing curb cuts exist on Hamby Road for the subject site. The off-street parking is located at the side and rear of the principal structure and is not approaching any setbacks. The total required parking spaces is 3, and the applicant has provided 4 parking spaces. The rural Milton overlay district for this use is a maximum of 20% lot coverage, and this requirement is met. In addition, there's a large open field to the east and woods to the west and north adjacent to Hamby Road. The use permit in the rural Milton overlay district for this use does not require any screening, but city staff notes that the lot is heavily screened to the west and north of the existing house. The hours of operation will be 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. The applicant's letter of intent states that there will be 1 staff member on site. The applicant has not indicated there will be any additional lighting, but if any is proposed, it will be required to meet the night sky ordinance per Section 64.185. The applicant has 2 existing curb cuts on Hamby Road. Public Works has reviewed the site and stated no traffic study will be required due to the maximum occupancy of 4 residences. The proposed development of the alternative senior housing use permit is consistent with the City of Milton 2040 Comprehensive Plan and map consistent with use permit considerations. This proposal also provides additional choices for housing for over 55 population within the city. Therefore, staff recommends approval conditional of U23-02. If this petition is approved by Mayor and City Council, it should be for a use permit for an alternative senior housing, Section 64.1884, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerating conditions. To the owner's agreement to restrict the use of the subject property as follows. A, restrict the use of the subject property to an alternative senior living facility. B, restrict the total square footage to 5,081 square feet of the primary existing residence. C, restrict the maximum number of residents on the alternative senior living facility to 4. And finally, 2, to owner agreement to buy the following to substantiate compliance with the site plan received by Community Development Department on May 3rd, 2023. Any questions or comments for staff?
I'd like to start with, well, first a comment. I wanted to thank you for referencing the 2020 comprehensive plan on several occasions. It should be our North Star, and I think that helps guide us in our deliberations. Question for you. The applicant is Tammy Uray, and yet I see the name Hembry, family named Hembry on some of the papers. Who owns the property?
So it is owned by the business, I believe DAUFY. They own it as a subsidiary. So like they own the actual property.
Why is the Hembry family mentioned in here, other than the street
So
name?
they gave 2 letters of support to the east and north. I think that's what you're referencing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So they have no ownership interest.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Judy?
The general notes on the plat has a comment that sanitary sewers provided by Fulton County, and yet on page C201, they show a septic field. Is it septic or is it sewer?
It's septic.
Okay, so the note is incorrect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
And then
typo,
as a
appears.
follow-on to that question, trying to understand the size of the septic, the number of bedrooms and baths currently in the house?
It'd be a good question for the applicant. I believe there are more than 4, but they are proposing 4 units.
I'll ask them. Okay.
Yeah, I had a question. So in the presentation, it seemed like it said that the parking was already met the requirements for parking. But then I saw there was a note that said for the land development engineer that the development will be required to submit an LDP prior to the construction of the additional parking on the site.
Yeah, so this is conceptual. The parking isn't there yet. The parking is conceptual this time.
Oh, so there is not enough parking right now?
No, so the site plan shows what they're proposing to build if they're approved. I'll show you what I'm referencing. So the parking shown here, this has not been constructed yet. But if the use permit is approved, they'll move forward with a land disturbance permit to lay the parking and get its city approval for the permitting process.
Okay. Because, I mean, okay, it's kind of confusing in the presentation because it says the development standards, and then it talks about off-street parking, et cetera, and it says it meets the minimum number of parking spaces.
Yeah, but let me address. So what it's saying is that it doesn't meet it at this
The proposal
second in
meets it.
time, but it meets it with the proposed sketch that they have submitted. So they show the minimum of 3. Actually, they have more than that. Or what's it?
Yeah,
4.
Yeah.
So it's just, they meet the standards, not this second, but their site plan shows meeting the standards for the number of parking spaces needed. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then also the LDP would be anything, we have like a mini LDP, anything above 5,000 square feet of disturbed area. So we're just going to make that assumption that it'll be an LDP, and that'll be looked at once they submit for their construction plans for the parking.
Okay.
Then along with that, I think one of the pictures shows the garage. So is that going to be a 5th or 6th spot? I don't know if it's a 2-car garage or not. What happens to the garage? Is that an additional parking?
You can ask the applicant
Okay,
that, what their
all right.
intention of it is. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, any more questions for staff? All right,
Okay. So, yeah, we have the applicant
You
here,
wanna
so
bring
if
the
you don't have
applicant
any
up?
other questions, okay, so, We're going to call Joshua Clark.
How you guys doing today?
Because we
Good.
need to do timing. Yeah. 10.
Hi.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address, just for the
Okay,
record.
my name is Joshua Clark, 3650 Ashford Dunwoody Road.
I think you're going to have to talk really loud.
Okay, you can hear me?
Okay, yeah, it's.
Hello, can you
Yeah,
guys hear me
that's
now?
better, yeah.
Okay, my name is Joshua Clark.
Very good.
I'm at 3650 Ashford Dunwoody Road.
Okay.
Urbina Daniels, 906 Glenleaf Drive, Peachtree Corner, Georgia.
All right, great. Thank you.
And we are here, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we are here on behalf of Dolphy Adult Community Services to request a use permit for 3450 Henry Road, Milton, Georgia, 30004. Unfortunately, Tammy couldn't be here. She is really ill, but you guys are in good hands because I'm her son and I've been around since the beginning of Dolphy Adult Community Services. And this is actually her sister. So you guys are in good hands as far as, anything you need to know or.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
Okay, so first and foremost, I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of who we are as Dolphy Adult Community Services and who we serve. So Dolphy Adult Community Services, we're intellectual and developmental disability specialists. We are a family-owned business established in 2005 with a mission to provide supportive services for people impacted by intellectual and developmental disabilities. And as I stated before, I'm her son. This is her sister. And, we have a couple other family members with Dolphy. So what we provide residential and day facility services.
Is there, I guess people are still having trouble hearing. Is there, I know you just went back and talked to Davey. Is there anything they can do for the volume?
Yeah, I think it's.
Do we need to turn off the fans? I hate to say. No, I hate to.
You want me to, can you hear now?
Yeah, but we're broadcasting, so they need.
Yeah,
to
or
Yeah.
do we want to turn off the fans?
Hello?
Not
Okay, you guys
a
can hear me.
popular decision.
Okay. You guys want me to start over or what?
Wait, I got,
No?
Sure, you can, yeah, let's just do over. For
Okay.
start. That way. Take
Take
two.
two.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to start off by giving you guys an example of who we are as Dolphy and who we serve. So Dolphy Adult Community Service, we are intellectual and developmental disability specialists. As I stated before, we're a family business established in 2005 with a mission to provide supportive services for people impacted by intellectual and developmental disabilities. So what we do is we provide two different services. We provide residential and day facility services. And we want to support the individuals we serve through social development, community participation, and community integration. So things like you see, we have Meals on Wheels shown up there. If you look at the first picture, one of the individuals we serve, we have them going out in the community as a collective whole, passing out meals to the less fortunate in the community or people that are sick and shut in. Also, we're very, very prevalent in the Miracle League Softball League that's actually at North Park in Milton. We do a lot of senior center activities and just social activities in the area because one thing I preach to everybody we serve is you're the same as myself and Verbena. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you can't go out in the community and go to the mall, or you can't play softball, or you can't do activity that I do. So that's something that we preach. So what will the use permit be used for? Well, we will be using it to provide housing for 4 senior individuals with disabilities in order to support and serve those individuals in a natural community setting and to provide quality services that enhance and promote independence in the community. Verbena, you want to expound on that?
And it would really,
You need to give your name and address
Okay.
too.
She already did.
Oh,
She
she
did,
did.
yep.
Oh, she did.
okay. Okay. And it's really important because these individuals have been supporting this community since 2005. It was North Fulton, then it became unincorporated Alpharetta. They have been delivering meals, building relationships with the ones. Most of them have passed away now, but these guys, this is their community and this is all they know. Their parents are getting older and they're trying to find housing for these individuals. And what they're left to do now, we have parents coming to us crying. They're left now to take their loved ones, south of Atlanta because there's no housing. There's not enough housing in this area for the individuals. So we're just trying to keep these individuals here in their community because they've built relationships and, keep so they can continue to maintain those relationships.
Okay, so I just want to give a picture of, I know Michael went over this just before I came up here, but just to give you guys another picture, I made the legend just showing how massive and how large, our neighbors' properties are and the property that 3450. So it's kind of secluded, but again, it's still a single family home in a community to make the individuals with disabilities that are seniors feel as though they are a part of the community and not off in subsections. So the property is 5,000 square feet and it's located on 2.1 acres. The neighbor to the east, which you see number 2, star 2, has 11 acres. To the west, 20 acres, and then 4, approximately 2 acres. And each neighbor mentioned above is not opposed to us obtaining the uses permit. And we actually had the neighbor to the east and northwest provide a letter in favor of the uses permit. And Michael should have that if readily available if you guys need to review that. Lastly, I just wanted to make it apparent that we meet all the criteria under the actual section 64-1844. And things I just want to point out, for example, letter A, facility should be for persons 55 years of age and above. As Verbena stated, at the current moment, we have residents, or not residents, but individuals that we take care of at our day facility that are aging out. They're at that point and they have loved ones that really don't have the proper ability to take care of them. So the next step would be for them to go an hour and a half out. And that makes it hard on the parent or the loved one because they can't see them as much as they would like to. So as she stated before, we get a lot of requests, not only from parents, but also from the state for people that we don't even interact with that are in the community. So I just wanted to make that apparent. Secondly, E, where it says structure shall retain the outward appearance of a single family home. Nothing is being altered. Everything is staying the same. The only things that will be altered would be what we would need to do if approved, like stated before with the parking and things of that nature. And then lastly, F, where it says off-street parking shall provide 1 parking space per 2 beds and 1 parking space per 2 employees, including the owner-operator. So I just want to emphasize that fact and let everyone know that this is a very controlled environment. So at all times, there will be no more than 2 cars. And if there is, they will only be there for 30 minutes because a loved one is coming to pick up somebody that lives at the home, take them out to eat for a little bit, or if they come, they'll take them and take them overnight for a day or 2. But it's a very controlled environment. We have structure with how we do things. Parents and loved ones are calling us, letting us know when they're coming, how long they're coming. And like I stated before, there will only be 2 cars there at all times for the majority of the time. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for your time and consideration. Do you guys have any questions for me? I don't know if that's appropriate, but.
Yep. I think now we can ask you. Now we get to ask you
Okay,
questions.
okay.
Good job. Good job outlining it.
Great. So just as a follow-up, how many bedrooms and baths does the house currently have? And do you have any plans to do any interior interior remodeling to add to that?
Okay, yeah.
The home has three bathrooms and four bedrooms, three bathrooms, three bathrooms, four bedrooms. And no, we don't plan to do any exterior. I mean, it's in excellent condition.
Kind of shifting toward the staffing that you have, how many shifts a day do they work? How, do they have 2 shifts? Is it just an individual person? What's typical staffing?
So typical staffing in a period, because, well, let me just outline and give you a full example of a day of an individual that will be coming to this property. So from 8 to 2, they will be at our day facility where they are promoted with motor skills, just different things going on in the community, main event, things like that. After 2 o'clock, we have a staff from 2 to 10, and then another staff comes in from 10. Well, actually, I'm sorry, 2 to 8, and then from 8 to 8.
I guess, Robert, I think we're still having problems here. Is there anything we can do? I mean, can you guys hear okay, or?
Is everybody okay?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if you just.
Okay, you hear me? Yeah. All right, perfect. So a typical day will be individual from 8 to 2. They're going to our day facility where they learn motor skills. We take them out in the community, main event, things of that nature, the zoo. They come back at 2 o'clock. From 2 to 8, there is 1 staff there. That's their shift. And then from 8 to 8 is the overnight shift. So in a day, you want to say a 24-hour period is pretty much 2 staff. And then they get picked up again at 8 o'clock.
And that's Monday through Friday, as far as they're out of the home from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 2:30, Monday through Friday. Now, on the weekends, they are home or with their loved ones or, doing some kind of community.
And so the residents do not drive?
They do not.
And then about how many, you alluded to visitors and kind of said they usually come for a short period of time.
Yeah, so like I stated before, a lot of the elderly individuals, their family members aren't really able to see them as much as they want to. So on a given basis, we probably get a family member to come maybe twice every 3 months, and that's just to take them to lunch. Or, they might take them back with them for a day or a night, but then they're bringing them back. So at the property, they're only there to sign them out, and then they're gone. So that's a 15-minute transaction.
And how many deliveries do you kind of anticipate a day? Do you have drugs being delivered, supplies?
Okay, so we do have medicine that's delivered, but that's through mail, UPS, but it's not on a like a really, really frequent thing, because they get medication for 6 months or a month or 2 months at times. You guys still hear me? Okay.
When your voice is facing this way, we can hear you.
Okay, well, I do it like this.
Is there a mic? Do you
I'm
have
trying to
like
talk
just
to
a
them. I'm trying to talk
microphone?
to everybody.
Can you just speak on a microphone? And then you could face that way, whichever way.
You know what he could do is bend the microphone back and stand on this side.
Or
of
you
the
can stand on
podium.
this side, yeah.
We can hear him.
Yeah.
I can do that. Yeah.
I'm gonna try a handheld mic and see.
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was saying, the handheld mic, yeah.
Or that way.
That way you're projecting and then.
Hello. Great.
Test.
Okay, and then, do you operate any other alternative housing in or near Milton? And could you compare and contrast that with this proposed facility?
Yes. So we have one. It's at 13665 Copper Road. We opened it, I want to say, in early 2020. And this would be pretty much the same there we have 3 residents. Here will be 4. That's the state limit as well. But it's been a wonderful thing. If you ask neighbors, if you ask anybody, they won't even know what's going on. It's just a regular, beautiful thing for the people that we take care of, because they're literally able to go to the park right down the street. They're literally telling us we love being in the community. So that's why we are continuing to try to do things like this.
And that's a similar age group that's?
Yes, it's 55 and over.
Yeah, and then your facility on Mayfield, which is just across the street from Milton?
No, that's not their facility.
That's not yours?
No, 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 no,
Not
no,
Mayfield,
no,
never
no.
mind. Retract that. So just the one on Cogburn.
Yes, ma'am.
How many emergency calls per month or per year do you typically average?
Only had, since we've had that house open, I think we've had 1.
You have to use the microphone.
Since we've had the house open, we've only had 1, and that's from 2020. Because I want to just let everybody know, we also have an application process for the people that we take care of. So we vet them as well. We want them to be a good fit for Dolphy, like they'll be a good fit for us. So it goes both ways with this process.
All right. Any other questions?
Well, I just had,
Okay,
oh, go
I
ahead.
have a question for staff, but
Oh, well, I had one more just expanding on her questions. So in terms of, I know you said medicines are delivered there, but do you all also take them to doctor's appointments and things like that? And then how does that work with a staffing standpoint?
So it depends. Again, that goes with as needed basis. Currently, we do have 1 person in our other location. Can you guys hear me? Because I feel like it's going in and out. Okay, we have 1 person that does go to dialysis at our other location, but we have transportation readily available because we set it up in a way to where staff will pick them up all at the same time, and how it's ran is very efficient. So again, it just depends on who comes into the home but nobody else that we take care of or provide services for has medical issues or things of that nature. It's just dialysis for 1 individual.
And if they were to have like their month or like a doctor's appointment or something, those are scheduled during the day. And as we stated, they're not in the home during the day, they're gone to the day program. So once they go to the day program, if they have a doctor's appointment, it would take place during that time. So they wouldn't be coming from the home, going to a doctor's appointment.
Okay, so you're taking them to the day program every day,
Oh, yes, they go,
coming Monday through Friday, and then they're coming back?
yes.
Okay,
Yes, and then they're at the home from 2 until 8 in the morning.
got it.
But like she stated, it's literally appointments are scheduled during the morning from an 8 to 2 perspective. So a lot of traffic is not still occurring from the 2 p.m. window all the way to the 8 a.m. window the next day.
And so the number of bedrooms that are in this house right now, that's going to satisfy 4 patients or whatever, and plus the person who's on staff who's going to be spending the night there as well?
Yes.
So, Robin, would that be considered 4 residents or 5 residents with the caretaker? Would that be 5 total residents in the house? I'm assuming.
What's that?
So with the caretaker, is that considered 5 residents?
5 residents or 4
No,
residents?
no. The maximum is based on the residents, not the caretaker.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
And I just wanted to, it's it's a wake shift. So we don't have the staff there sleeping, so we don't need a bed for them.
Okay, thanks.
Got it.
And then,
do we have any other comments?
yeah,
Yeah, we do have comments. So
okay, let's get those, and then we'll have some more questions.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sure.
the first person to come up is Kara Rutland. So just want to remind everybody, you have 10 minutes total for opposition, so.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I have petitions
and-
Don't
that,
forget to state your name and address.
I'm Kara Rutland at 3275 Hamby Road. Can everyone hear me fine? Thank you. If I may address you all, I have petitions from those who are opposing, all from the area, Hamby Road area. There are 20 plus with 11 plus residences that are opposing this.
Robin, have you seen this?
Yeah, we just saw it right before the,
Well, I
The meeting.
attended
Okay.
the design review board, and they said the next step would be this planning commission, and that we needed to have a petition ready and signed for those who are opposing. And
Yeah.
some of my neighbors are here too. There's going to be some that are going to be speaking, but I am representing some of those folks that are not able to be here today. So first thing I'd like to state is, and if we can, I don't know if we can put that very nice plot map that was up that had the stars of one, because I actually, on that petition, thank you, I believe that number 1 is Glenn's. Am I correct? Oh, number 2 is Glenn, who lives directly next door. He's on that petition. He opposes it. I'm sorry. Jerry Hamby's property as well. So, but there, I can say that there are folks on this road that are opposing this, that were stated earlier that they were for.
Well,
no, I know, yeah, wait. So, can I just interject? We do have a support letter from the property owner of number 2.
okay.
And
Hamby.
what number is that?
It's
That,
number 2.
well, I mean, what's the street address on it?
0, it's, yeah.
Oh, so it's the partial. So it's not Glenn's residence, which is right next door to this?
Okay.
If you want
Yeah,
to
what-
come up and.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So my name's James Limbaugh. I live at 3305 Hamby Road. I've got the, kind of the rectangular property there, with the little pool in the back. So the number 2 is farmland, and it is Jerry Hamby's property. Jerry Hamby sold the owners the house, sold it for $900,000+. So of course he's going to be in favor of their business, their business. Just putting it out there.
Okay.
So what I first want to say is that Hamby Road, for most, is merely a cut-through road from straight from Hopewell to Highway 9. But if you live on Hamby Road, it's more than just a cut-through road. It's a community in a residential area. The neighbors look out for one another there. It is a community within a residential area. I am opposing the zoning change for a business to be established at 3450 Hamby Road in Milton, Georgia. My neighbors have some following concerns. My number 1 concern is the zoning change would set a precedent that would encourage future zoning changes and similar businesses on Hamby Road in our residential area. We're concerned about increased traffic. If you've ever driven down Hamby Road, you already know it's a high volume, highly trafficked area. We have concerns. There have been a lot, y'all have shared a lot about the way that it's zoned, and specifically about the group home. About the group home, but there haven't been specifics about it. We have specifics about how is this alternative senior housing defined, really? What does that mean? How are these individuals vetted? How do we know their degree of mental disabilities that they have? We haven't been giving anything other than what Tammy has told us, that she vets them all personally. But what does that entail? How do we know who is going to be living there? And could they potentially have criminal backgrounds? Is this a sober living facility? We don't have answers to any of those type of things, and we live just down the road, if not across the street from this home. What if the owner sells the property? How will that change things? It's my understanding that if this zoning change takes effect, it could be for perpetuity. So if they sell, could it be turned into a group home that's for substance abuse or mental illness? And we're all very concerned, though I know I've heard since I've been attending these meetings about the resale value of our homes. But if I was looking to buy a home and I learned that next door or right down the road from me, there is a group home, I don't know that I would buy that home due to that. I believe that when a family buys a home in a community, they make an implicit agreement with the local government that the zoning will be maintained. We're asking for the city of Milton to honor that. Anything that I'm
Okay.
missing?
Robin, anybody else?
Okay, how many?
Anybody
so
else
we
for
have about
comments?
Oh, thank you.
4 minutes left.
Okay.
My name's
Have you
Fred
Have
Carr.
you filled out a card, sir?
Yes, he did.
Okay,
oh, wait,
great.
wait, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's Fred Carr. Yes.
Okay,
I'm
You're
Fred
next
Carr.
up. Yes.
I
We
live
usually
at
go
30
by but we call out people.
Are you using my
Yeah.
time?
That's okay. We'll give it back to you. We haven't
ready, and
go.
Okay, I live at 3309 Hamby Road. Granddaddy bought this property about 90-something years ago. They bought the house and stuff from my Uncle Jerry. So my cousin, Vince, and me, we all live on this property. And we don't want to move. We want to stay there till we die. So we are opposed of it. And I know you said that we wasn't, because I live right across the street and I am opposed of it. Anyway, I know this house very well. It's on a well. I don't think it will support the number of people they want to put there. There's somebody living in the basement of it now. They're going to have a caretaker that's going to be in there, and there's 4 bedrooms. There's 3 on the main level. I don't know where the 4th one is. Up on the upstairs, very part of the half house, there may be a half bedroom up there. There's no bath up there. And all the traffic that would increase there is limited sight distance. James lives right up the road. He can't hardly get in and out of his house. So if you increase more traffic and they're wanting to add more people, then it's a pretty quiet place. If something happens during the night to these people, and there's 5 there, I don't know where the home care person's gonna sleep. You ain't got but 3 bedrooms. That's it. You got another person that lives in the basement now. The well ain't gonna support them all. And there's not enough bedrooms for it. There's not. So, yeah, septic tank won't hold that many people. It's on a septic tank. Yeah, so, and it will, like she said, it will lower our value of our house. If somebody wants to buy it, they'll come down and see this and say no. And there's no need in putting this here. You can't hardly get in and out of our driveway in the morning now. You can't. And if we increase the traffic, and then at night, these people are gonna have to have, I'll guarantee you, an ambulance come out there at some point in time, because this never goes back to the original zoning. So we're gonna have fire trucks and ambulances there in all hours or all time of the day, which is on an increased thing. No water, just other than well. And like I say, I don't know where they're gonna put the people. There's 3 bathrooms, I know, and 3 bedrooms there. Yeah, but the basement, that's a whole different thing. There's not enough bedrooms to put that many people there.
All right.
I don't let him use the rest of my time. I'm done.
Sure, and you filled out a card also, I assume?
Oh,
So
me?
you filled-
Absolutely. Yes, I
Okay,
did.
great.
Are you Vince McDowell?
I am James Limbaugh.
Okay, Jim. Okay, we got
Okay.
you.
We've got like less than 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna be super quick. My name is James Limbaugh, 3305 Hamby Road. All right, so I got a couple points here. First thing is they mentioned the Medicaid waiver. So this is a government funded, they're receiving government funding. The residents are in turn paying the property owners. So my concern is the applicant qualifications that they're allowing to live in the house. I'm concerned about that these residents, I know they said they're from our community, but I would like to, challenge that in that these potential residents are not from the city of Milton. Alpharetta, Cumming, that's not our local community. Our local community is the city of Milton. And we've, over the last 20 years, we've done a pretty good job as a community trying to separate ourselves from our surrounding neighbors. The other thing is, what happens when the funding The government funding is restricted or
30
runs out.
seconds.
I'm sorry?
30 seconds.
Oh, gosh. The other thing I would say is, as you know, the permit potentially would remain with the property. We're concerned about the precedents. Ms. Rutler talked about us being a community. We have been fighting this type of stuff along Hamby Road for a long time. So this is another one we tend to group together for stuff like this. And then the other thing is, I do live across the
Time
street.
has expired.
Just last point. I do live across the street. My kids, I'm teaching them to build their house on our property. That's my father-in-law. So I've already ingrained it in my kids to build their homes by the creek behind our house. So we really do not want this type of facility across from my house. And I am across the street. I do see everything off my front porch, which is my last point in that I can see everything and I can see
Yeah,
everything.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we've gone over.
Unless the planning commission wants to give additional.
Okay.
time.
Do we, sir, hold on. We're out of time right now. So, I'm sorry, sir.
Yes.
Again, sir. Okay, then please, let us do our job up here, okay? All right?
So we have one more, that was, we have Vince McDowell left to speak, so.
I'd like to, I move to extend the time for opposition to 5 minutes, allowing more time for.
I would second that.
an approve.
Okay, so we've got a motion to extend the time by Judy and Ron, Trey second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, so we've got
And that
five.
would be
we've got
extended
5
on
more
both
minutes.
sides, correct, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think she said
Yep, both sides.
5 minutes?
Yep. Bye. Okay, so who's not,
So the next speaker is Vince McDowell.
okay, you want to go to the podium, state your name and address?
I didn't quite finish, but the other thing I'll say is that the other property that they have, if you look at the location where it's at, there's actually other commercial properties. There's a high school there. There's other businesses, so it really kind of fits there. Whereas you look at the properties around this Hamby Road location, it is, farmland. It is, there's cows across the street from this. There's homeowners, there's kids. So it really doesn't fit in my opinion. That's all I got. There you go.
Thank you, guys, for just giving me a minute.
Absolutely. Please give me your name and address for the record.
Oh, yes, Vince McDowell, 3315 Henry Road. right
Thank you.
across the street, too. What I wanted to ask was, they said this thing was about mental disabilities. And I understand they have other properties, but some of the mental disabilities that could be concerned with, have they ever had any safety issues or threats to other people in their community with these disabilities? I don't know if it's PTSD, bipolar, autistic. What is the security risk to our neighbors? We haven't talked much about if they've had problems in other areas with this disabilities. And the other thing, I believe he said he had 2 acres here. Is there any plans to build another facility right behind it? Because in Fulton County, it takes an acre to build something, So I wanted to know if you let one cap in, how many more caps are coming? And if y'all remember the Levine thing, when they got into an uproar, he was going to put a commercial business right across from us. They did a traffic study, Milton, Fulton County did, and they came up with 12,000 plus cars per day. So, it's not a small thing. But if you allow this, there's one cap, another cap, another cap, another cap. When is it you cap out? And, we've been there a long time. So we ask you to turn this thing down.
Okay,
Dave, you want to finish up with it? Oh.
all right, is that all the cards we have?
Yep, that's all the cards I have. That's all the cards we have.
Okay,
Is do the Does the applicant?
Yeah, the
get
applicant, the
time?
applicant has 5 additional minutes also.
Yeah, so they can,
uh,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, they have more than that, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Verbena Daniels, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. I understand you guys' concerns, and I know someone asked about mental health. It's not mental health, it's intellectual disabilities. The individuals are vetted. They make sure that we aren't going to take someone that we can't handle. So we've never had any issues. We don't have the police call. We've never had anyone, I mean, you can contact the Milton Police Department. We haven't had anyone attacked or anything of that nature. You see some other your concerns, were we going to create another home? No, we're not. And if they sell the home, the way this is set up, if they sell this home, this license is to Doffy. If they sell the home, someone else can't just move in and say, we're going to bring another Doffy and set up and open shop. They can't do that. That is specific to Doffy. It's a license. Let me see, just trying to answer some of your questions that I can remember.
Excuse me, this is a use case, but, so that is not correct. The use case stands,
Yeah,
correct?
so there's two different things. I
I
think
know,
you're
there's two different-
speaking of
right.
your license versus the use. So if somebody similar to you wanted to do a similar program, they could do it without asking for a new one. But yes, they would have to get a new state license. Yes. Yeah.
That would be something.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And then I just wanted to just answer your question, or not really question, but your statement about safety and children. And then like our other house on Cogburn Road, there are actually many houses on that road. There's communities to the back. North Park is literally 30 seconds away, but safety and children, we're literally next to a school. So, and the elderly, a lot of them cannot maneuver and move around like you think they can. So some of them are wheelchairs, some of them need walking assistance. And I know I know, sir, that your case was there wasn't enough bedrooms. There are 4 bedrooms, but we also have people that can walk. See what I'm saying? So with that being said, we do have enough bedrooms, enough bathrooms to accommodate four individuals. So I understand your concern, sir. I just want to let you know that literally we're at the other home. We're literally next to a school with a whole bunch of children. And there's a ton of homes on that street.
I was going to also just clarify about the person who's there at night. They don't go to there to sleep.
They don't go.
They're
Yeah.
awake.
Yes. So it shifts. This is a occupation for the people that are taking care of the individuals. They don't go to sleep at night. They're up, making sure that everything is good in the house. They're making sure they're prepared for the next morning. Clothes are laid out. Breakfast is being thought about. What's being made, and just getting everything ready. So they're not going to sleep 24/7 or throughout the night, making sure they're awake, making sure things are copacetic. But I just want to let you guys know it's not, I don't want you to think people are just not being watched and looked after. It's 24/7. We're watching what you're doing. If they're downstairs watching TV, everybody's watching TV together. If they're in their own room, doors are locked. Everything is, so we have had no issues at Cogburn. And like Verbena said, if you guys can check with Milton, the police have never been called out there. Nothing has happened, tragic or anything. So.
All right, we close public comment. All right, let's close public comment and open it.
No, the public hearing is closed now.
Yeah, so,
I have some more follow-on questions for staff.
okay, let's go ahead.
So just for clarification, this is a use permit. There are no variances required?
Correct.
Okay, and it was determined due to the position of the house and the setback that no additional screening is needed for the additional parking?
There's no requirements, but if that's a condition that the planning commission would like to recommend, you can do that.
Yep, and I feel like I've been reading use permit language for a while. This is a use permit for 55 plus, but to the neighbors' concerns that it could be 55 plus sober living or other, is there an ability to add conditions to address that?
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah. I mean, you can specifically condition to their proposed business model if, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
So along that same line, would it be possible to revert the zoning automatically upon sale or change of ownership?
No, it's our position that you have to go through the zoning procedures for, the reversion is effectively also a change in the effect, I mean, not zoning, but a change in the use permit status. So we would want the process to go forward that way.
I guess I've got a couple questions. One is, and again, it just goes back to the owner. Right now, there's the garage there. We're talking about 2 outside parking spots. What happens to the existing garage? Is that a 5th parking spot? Or what happens to the existing garage that's underneath, it looks like it's underneath the home? Yeah, you can come up, yeah.
And your question was, what's with?
Yeah, right now, on the pictures, there's a garage. What happens to that garage?
So, yeah, so there's 2 garages.
Okay,
There's 2 entrances. So there's an entrance low and an entrance. There's 2 garages.
okay.
What are you gonna
But
do?
we're not going to utilize the garage. I mean, they're just going to have, I mean, 'cause you can park in front of the garage,
Mhm.
but to have staff to just keep, living in the garage and that, it would probably disturb the inside if someone was sleeping, because the second shift, remember, comes in at 10 p.m. So they'll just park outside and.
Okay, so the garage is gonna remain unfinished
Yeah.
area?
Storage.
Okay,
I guess I'll,
Just asking, what's with the garage? Are we going to use it?
or
We're
we
not
want
gonna
to
use it.
utilize it for like. any
yeah,
type
I mean,
of-
what's the future use of that? Because again, we've talked parking space to 4. What's going, is the garage additional parking, or is the garage just not gonna be used, it'll remain unfinished? Okay, and then you guys are licensed by the state, or by, who are you licensed by? 'Cause I mean,
DHDD, which is the state.
okay, and what do they do? You don't, part of that license, they come in and they inspect the home, they,
It's a very, very thorough process. So, we have to be, like, we have to have everything, Ds and Qs for them to actually say, okay, you can have your occupancy license. So
Okay.
it's a very detailed process from the state.
fair enough. Okay, any other questions or comments or discussion?
Is it Tammy that has the psychiatry degree, or do you have them also?
Tammy.
Oh, can you answer a question on psychiatry?
I've been working in this field for quite a while, but I can try.
Yep. So, I know there are many classifications of mental illness and some, but is there a degree, and you screen your patients to not have severe mental disabilities, severe, or, and I'm thinking more mental illness, not mental disability. Is there a word or a phrase that's recognized about?
We're not licensed to take care of anyone with mental health. We're intellectual disabilities. So mental health is through DBHDD, but we don't do.
Yeah. So if we had a condition that this use permit could only be used for people with individual disabilities, but not mental health issues, that would still meet your needs?
No mental health issues, as long as it's not something from the state where they're saying we're discriminating, because we have to cross our T's too.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you could help us with.
Yeah, we have to, I can contact DBHDD and see if perhaps that is something that, but it's a really thin line, so we can't say, okay, well.
Because there are severity levels of people with intellectual and disabled, but a lot of people that we provide services for, like at our other home, let's say for example, she has dialysis, or like just think things of that nature. So Medicaid or the state gives them a waiver for them to be taken care of. So it's no different, almost of.
I'm not worried about health. I'm worried about severe
Mental.
mental health or sober living. I was trying to, try to figure out a way we could add that as a condition.
Abuse, over living, most of them are graduated from like Alpharetta High School and are just.
What are some names of intellectual disabilities? Just to put, like, what are some examples?
It could be autism, delayment, and let's say you may have someone that can't talk.
Yes.
You may have someone that's blind.
Yes.
You may have someone that or maybe have a scoliosis or things of that nature. Something that's retards the growth.
Okay.
So basically, a lot of cases we see are nonverbal. So people are nonverbal; they're not able to communicate, like me or you would be able to, or how we're doing right now. So we get to know them, know what they want, know what they need, but they can learn sign language, different things like that. We'll tell them, hey, raise your hand for yes, or keep it down for no. So there's a lot of nonverbal situations that we deal with when it comes to the intellectual side of, I guess, to answer your question.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have other questions?
So last question, are there any pending lawsuits or past lawsuits?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So now we've got the opportunity to recommend denial, recommend approval, or recommend approval with conditions. I think staff has gone through and said that in their mind, this is consistent with the City of Milton 2040 Comprehensive Plan and map, and is consistent with the use permit considerations. They've also recommended or suggested some conditions on this, so that if we wanted to approve it with conditions, the conditions they've recommended are to the owner's agreement to restrict the use of the subject property as follows. 1, restrict the use of subject property to an alternative senior living facility. Also restrict the total square footage to 5,081 square feet of the primary existing residence. And restrict the maximum number of residents of the alternative senior living facility to 4. Anybody have any comments or discussions about those?
Yeah, if you could follow my questioning, I'm trying to figure out if in 1A we could add a phrase, and I don't know that Paul is an expert on this, but we're staff, but add a phrase that says to an alternative senior living facility for individuals with developmental disabilities, but not for use as a sober living or substance abuse recovery home.
I would be okay with those.
Pardon?
I would be okay with as read or as stated.
And also, I know we've talked about age of 55 plus. Is
It's
senior?
already, so the 55 and plus is already baked into the use permit. So they can't
Okay.
have anybody below 55 already. That's
Okay.
part of it. Yeah.
All right. Good. Any other comments on the condition 1? 2, the owner's agreement to abide by the following: substantial compliance with the site plan received by Community Development Department on May 3rd, 2023. The exact layout of the project may contain minor deviations approved by the Community Development Director, provided the deviations remain consistent with the purpose and intent of the council's approval of the use permit.
My only thing would be there is the general notes need to be corrected to take off Fulton County Sewer.
So, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And that, is that,
Right. I mean, they wouldn't. Yeah, it's impossible. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I think I would like to add some maybe personal comments. I don't know if I'm crossing the line here, but when you guys got up to begin with and explain what you're about, it sounds amazing. It sounds really amazing. And I'm grateful that you guys have endeavored to support and serve. You mentioned the word serve over and over again, which I love that idea. And then I put that facility on my street. I live on Doris Road. It's a 1 mile road. It's me and a bunch of farmers. I'm a fake farmer. I just have property. And the vision I have is of my kids running up and down Doris Road on bikes, dirt bikes, maybe horses. And I wouldn't have a concern about having your facility on my street as you've described, but I would have a concern about who comes next. And changing the zoning, in my view, would pose a threat that as a resident on that road, I would not look forward to. So I'm empathetic to the business needing a home and finding a place to put your clients. And those aren't just clients, they're human beings with needs. And I love that that's who you're serving. I'm conflicted because there's nothing that legally prevents you from doing what you're wanting to do that I can see. But as a resident, I would vote against it for that, because of the vision that I just painted. So I'm not in support of the permit personally in changing the zoning, but that's for personal reasons, not because I've found any issue with the code.
Do you want to make a motion, or does somebody else want to make a motion? Again, we can either recommend, and again, we're a recommending body. We can recommend deny, we can recommend approve, or we can recommend approve conditionally. Those are three options.
Can I add one kind of trailer to my comments? There's a sweetness to that kind of rural farmland that is evaporating right in front of us. And when I first bought my property in Milton, I met some people in Florida that had just left Milton because Milton was exploding. And we were moving to Milton because it wasn't exploding. And my perspective now that I've been here for 7 years is that it's exploding. And so I'm in favor of protecting those little places that are still rural, that people want to have their kids running around. And so my hope is that if this doesn't work out, if the zoning can't be changed, is that you find a different location that still gives you the ability to serve without, somebody made the comment, you may have made the comment earlier, once it's zoned, people don't get it rezoned back to its natural state again. It's gone. So again, I don't know if I'm crossing the line on personal views versus code. Again, I've not seen anything in code that says they can't. So my vote would be no if we're ready for that.
Before we go, I just want to say one thing, just to make it perfectly clear that this isn't a zoning question. The property will remain zoned as it is. This is a request for a use permit.
Right.
That
I
is
used the wrong language.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. So just making sure it's clear.
I think that's, again, I don't speak out of turn either, but I think that's one of the reasons that staff's recommending conditions. Okay, it's going to be one house, it's going to stay one house. Otherwise, I think by right, as AG1, by right, they could subdivide it and put 2 homes there with as many family members and cars coming and going as a family would have, times 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what the restriction are kind of deciding. Okay, we're going to leave this as it is. You know, the curb appeal is going to be exactly the way it is. You know, it's not going to change the look and feel. It's not going to change the density, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to, I don't know what kind of impact it's going to have on traffic. It might be a couple more trips, seeing that they don't drive. You know, I don't know if it's a huge traffic burden that's being placed on this. Because again, you're right, Hamby Road's crazy as it is, you know. So.
Any other thoughts?
No, I think we've discussed those. So
No, I think that, Judy,
You have to get,
oh,
and loud.
I can hear you, but they need to hear you.
yeah, sorry about that. Getting back to a moment ago, you were talking about some other constraints for the use permit. And I think for the benefit of the community, I think it'd be nice to include those that restrict the sobriety issue, I can't remember the other two.
Substance abuse.
The substance abuse, that's right. I think that would be appropriate here, to the extent we want to go forward with this, or recommend going forward.
Yeah, no. I mean, my thoughts, if we're going to just open it up to us planning commissioners talking about this, again, similar sentiments to what Trey is saying in terms of, it seems like this is something, and obviously 2040 plan, wanting us to do something like this and have these alternative facilities. But I understand the concerns of the community members who are living there on that street, who've been there forever. And, and if they have concerns about that, we obviously need to consider that, in terms of what they're looking for in their community on their street as their future neighbor of this property. So it's one of those things it's hard to, fit the mold for everybody into this decision, but taking in consideration what, everybody else is saying and, why they're potentially opposed to it. I understand the concerns that you might have, but it seems like the facility, and I think I was here when we voted on the one for Cogburn, right? And again, if staff is basically, concluding the same thing as they were mentioning, that there's been no other incidences or anything like that in terms of what happened with Cogburn, and it seems like it's been a benefit to the community. And these are facilities that are potentially needed, because you may not have all those other types of facilities here in this area. And so you can create these kind of pockets of facilities around the community to provide for this service, which is a beneficial service, obviously, that people need to have, so it's hard to make that decision.
Anybody want to make a motion? One way or another?
We'll find out where we really stand. I'd like to make a motion that we recommend with conditions approval of the use permit at 3450 Hamby Road, with the conditions listed, amending 1A to add at the end of the sentence, for individuals with developmental disabilities, comma, but not for use as a sober living or substance abuse recovery home or halfway house.
Okay,
Second.
Ron seconded.
Okay.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, 3-2.
Split decision.
Motion passes, so you have a majority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do we know when
All
the
right.
city council hear it?
I'm sorry?
Do we know when the city council hear it? Did you announce that before?
Do we what?
When does it get passed on? When does the city council hear it?
Not until August.
Okay.
So, all right, the next item on the agenda is consideration of text amendments to the City of Milton zoning ordinance. RZ 2304, text amendment to amend chapter 64 as it relates to flag lots.
Yeah. That mean we can turn the fan back on?
Yes.
That one's not working any longer, I don't think.
Everybody's here and they all don't want it. I'm just like,
The one on Cogburn, I drive by, I never see a soul.
I was here to get worried about that. Everybody here who's like not for it. I'm kind of with. I'm
I
trying
think
to help-
part of it, yeah.
I'm trying to help people.
Actually, I didn't like their reasons for not having it. It was a lot of, oh, they're gonna be breaking into our house.
I get it. I mean, but again, I could see why, you
Yeah.
don't want to have something like that. It's hard to.
right,
Okay,
moving right along.
flag lots.
Great.
I was doing trigonometry and geometry.
All right, RZ 23-04.
Right.
Flag
Good evening.
lots.
Thank you, Kurt. Good evening again in Planning Commission.
Ron, you guys ready?
We're good. All right. Good evening again, Planning Commission. We're here tonight for a land use project outlined in the short-term work program. Perform due diligence to limit restrictions on flag lots. This item is RZ 2304, a text amendment to amend Chapter 64 as it relates to flag lots. Here's a timeline of events. The 2040 comp plan started in the summer of 2020. CPAC was tasked with providing flag lot input during the comp plan meetings. In October 2021, the 2040 comp plan was adopted by Mayor and Council. From March to September of last year, staff completed our research in the project scope. Last October, we received feedback from Plan Commission where you recommended prohibiting flag lots citywide. Last November, we received feedback from Mayor and Council that they wanted to find a middle ground solution and recommended getting more direction from industry and to hold a public meeting. This February, staff held our flag lot discussion meeting at Community Place. This April, we presented our findings to Mayor and Council. And finally, May to August is the text amendment process. Here's a timeline on the text amendment process. On April 24th, after presenting our findings from the flag lot discussion meeting to Mayor and Council, we received feedback from Mayor and Council to move forward with the text amendment process. The CZIM was May 23rd, and no one from the public attended. And Planning Commission is tonight, and Council will be on August 7th. Let's circle back to some flag lot basics. Lot frontage is defined at the street, which requires 35 feet, and the flag stem is allowed to thin down to 15 feet, as you can see here. In the buildable area, and all required setbacks happens after the flag stem. Here's a list of some flag lot concerns. Development pattern concerns the appearance of higher density. When you have multiple flag lots stacked against other flag lots, it gives the appearance of higher density. And also the flag stem is allowed to count towards the minimum AG1 lot size requirement. This essentially shrinks the overall buildable footprint after the flag stem. So the flag lot discussion meeting took place on February 28th, and 8 total people attended this meeting. The consensus from the group was eliminate flag lots in major subdivisions. There is not a consensus on flag lots outside of major subdivisions. The staff worked with all interested parties to develop a solution to address CPAC's concerns. Text amendment recommendations. Flag lots are prohibited in major subdivisions citywide. A flag lot shall be a minimum of 1.5 acres in size. The stem of the flag lot shall count no more than 10% of the total lot size. Here is the proposed text as shown in section 6477, minimum building lines. Here's a brief summary of minor versus major subdivisions. Minor subdivision, no more than 3 lots or any number of single-family lots that are at 3 acres or more in size. Major subdivision, 4 or more lots, curb and gutter, road dedication, 1 lot dedicated to stormwater management, and lots are less than 3 acres in size. Prohibit flag lots in major subdivisions citywide, which again was accepted universally by everyone at the flag lot discussion meeting. We believe flag lots in major subdivisions would not meet CPAC's vision and would be used as a tool by developers to maximize their lot yield. 1.5 acre minimum flag lot size requirement. You can see how the footprint of the house is not built setback to setback like the 1 acre flag lot from earlier. You can truly visualize the extra space and the lower appearance of density. And finally, a maximum of 10% of the total lot size can count towards the flag stem. As you can see in the 1.5 acre flag lot example, the maximum stem length for this size is 400 feet, where it can count towards the 10% of total lot area. If you want a longer flag stem than 400 feet, let's say 800, you have to have a larger buildable area at the end of the stem to make up for the long flag. In summary, staff is proposing we believe is not a middle ground solution, but the minimum changes needed to meet our goal for the short-term work program, meet CPAC's vision, and preserve Milton's rural character.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
In the larger subdivisions that we have, how frequently do you see flag lots?
Here's a recent one from 2017 in Milton Crossing. As you can see, from doing research on subdivisions throughout the city, through my research, I try to say I looked at every subdivision. The most recent one was 2017. I wouldn't say it's super common, but it doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah. I live in White Columns, and I've driven the community, and I don't see any flag lots in there. So I was just interested in how how prevalent it is.
The Hampshires off of Freemanville has quite a few flag lots, and I believe even Kingsley might have a couple as well.
Kingsley has a couple.
That's a couple. Okay.
I know they have at least
So
one.
we haven't done it very much, but there were a fair amount done in Fulton County.
Yeah, it struck. Yeah, yeah. I think the those are older communities, right? And so even with the rules that we had previously, we as Milton, we aren't permitting them, or they don't seem to be turning up. Why? What is the city council's rationale for seeking middle ground? I think you put it.
Good question. I believe they were trying to look at the other side of the large landowners. Some came to the meeting and voiced their concern. And then they said to staff, let's have a public meeting. And that's when we scheduled the flag lot discussion meeting. We advertised in Milton Herald. It was on the website. It was very public. And we had 8 people show up. And a good amount of the people that showed up were large landowners. And so that gave them the platform to say, hey, this is my opinion. This is how I feel. But I believe it was, to go back to your question, it was spurred from the November presentation to council, and we had 2 large landowners voice their opposition.
It doesn't sound like an unbiased sample, in other words. Question, adjacent communities, how do they handle flag lots? Like Alpharetta or Roswell, let's say?
Alpharetta, Roswell, Johns Creek prohibits them completely. And great question for bordering, if you look at the screen, Forsyth County and Cherokee County, they allow flag lots with restrictions. Forsyth.
Wait, say that again. I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah, sorry. So Alpharetta, Roswell, Johns Creek prohibits flag lots.
Yeah.
But if you look on your screen, can you see it?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, Forsyth County and Cherokee allow flag lots with restrictions. And they're right here. Forsyth, no max stem length, Cherokee 400. Forsyth, minimum stem width 60, Cherokee 30. Forsyth actually prohibits adjacent flag lots against other adjacent flag lots. And Cherokee does not prohibit that. And Forsyth has a maximum of 6 in a minor subdivision, Cherokee 5.
Let's assume for a moment that I don't want to buy the stem or the pole. Can I just use an easement to get to my 1.5 acre property in the back?
You cannot.
Why not?
It has to be land that you own. Like has to have frontage on the street.
What does? What needs to have that? Why can't I just get an easement from my neighbor in front of me?
Because the flag lot definition requires 35 feet at the street. So you couldn't just use an easement and have a orphan lot floating.
Or shared drive?
Shared drive?
If it had frontage at 35 minimum, but then it would be a flag lot essentially, meeting the 35. If you look at the screen right now, you need 35 feet right here at the street. So you couldn't just have an orphan lot floating without frontage.
So it's the zoning ordinance that makes the requirement that any parcels under 3 acres requires 35 feet of frontage at the road.
Okay.
So with the exception, a couple years ago, 5 years ago first, and then we amended it a couple years ago, any lots that are 3 acres or more in size, they can utilize a cross easement. So you could stack them like rectangles on top of each other without the pole. But for under 3 acres, you have to have 35 feet of frontage.
Okay. Well, going back to this example that we have in front of us, how does that middle lot access
The
the
same
road.
way. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a shared access, but you can see right here, they have 35 feet of frontage.
So they need an additional 35 feet.
Yeah.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and this lot one, it's not a flag lot. It just has 2 flag lots behind it. It has.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, Michael. That house that's fronting the street, if it's not a flag lot, does it have to be an acre and a half?
No.
Robin, back to your comment of a moment ago. You said, we agreed that a lot of the flag lots in the large subdivisions seem to be a legacy from Fulton County days. Why has that stopped under Milton's administration after we were created?
Say that again about legacy what?
We were talking about flag lots, and you named a couple of large subdivisions that have them.
Right.
You mentioned they were all from Fulton County days. 2006 comes, and we don't seem to have a lot of them. What changed? Why don't we have as many?
So I think that a biggest change was the number of large subdivisions that we have developed from the ground up, from a preliminary plat to a regular plat to construction, is very small. I think about Annandale, that probably has 25 lots, maybe at Birmingham and Freemanville. We have the various subdivisions along Ebenezer, which is built by Brightwater. So they have actual different phases. We just don't have Crooked Creeks. We don't have Kingsleys. We don't have White Columns. Most of that was done before we became a city. So I think that's why it hasn't happened very much.
Okay. So, all right. So the size of the projects have gone down.
Yeah, they're
That's the
small,
reason that we haven't had a lot of
Development pattern,
flag
yeah.
lots in those. Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you.
And Ron, to jump on your comment, a reason why we felt differently for a subdivision, we consider that's like a blank canvas. You have 35 acres, you can do your curb and gutter, you can do your street, you can do a new design to not need a flag lot. But let's say you have a 4.5 acre parcel that already has a house on it, and you want to carve off a piece for your grandson in the back. You're limited because there's a house on the property usually, and you have to be more creative, and that's why we support the 1.5 acres for flag lots in minor subdivisions, not major.
Well, you know, I'm troubled by this. As we've discussed, in major subdivisions, there aren't a lot of opportunities to create these flag lots any longer. So what's proposed here is prohibiting something that we don't really have a lot of. We won't have a lot of going forward. The concerns at CPAC were focused on our rural heritage and preserving our rural view sheds, and a variety of curb cuts along the major roads disturbs that feel, the look and feel of Milton, which is what we're trying to preserve. While I think what is suggested here is helpful, it moves in the right direction, I think it moves not very far in the right direction. I don't view what you're suggesting as a middle ground. And if I go back to the comprehensive plan and CPAC, the committee that brought it together, there were a lot of people involved in that, not 8 large lot owners. Hence your unbiased, your biased sample that you're holding up for us. I don't think what you're proposing is consistent with what the comprehensive plan, the framers of the comprehensive plan wanted. And I'm not sure that well, I'll just leave it there. This is inconsistent with what was desired by the folks who framed the comprehensive plan.
I have one conceptual question and one kind of like, I don't know why it popped in my head. Where do you put the mailboxes? In the middle of the driveway?
So I can answer that. So typically, there is a gang mailbox up towards the entrance. On other on this example, on the screen, they have a gang mailbox up at the front.
Meaning all three would be right there.
That's
Okay.
correct.
I was just kind of like trying to envision that. Conceptually, though, and I'm trying to recall when I listened to your presentation to City Council seeking guidance on this, did City Council vote on that? Was a general consensus that this is what they wanted to do as far as the 400 feet and the 10%? And what guidance did you get from City Council, recognizing that the CPAC had other guidance?
So essentially, we had one council member oppose and the majority supported.
What you're presenting tonight.
Correct, what we're presented tonight. And, CPAC's vision was lower density. And if you have a 3-acre parcel, you no longer can cram 3 flag lots in there. You can't. You can maybe get 2, depending on the size of the stem. So our interpretation is, and I believe what council saw we presented in April, we're protecting, the farmer that has 10 acres. You can't just jam 3 flag lots on each side of him. We're making that more difficult, but we're also respecting the middle ground from the large landowners, is what we presented at council.
Okay.
What do the large landowners favor? What are we protecting?
So just to clarify on Ron's comment, the 8 people attended, I would say 5, it was probably 5-3, 4 restrictions, 3 for none. So it was more, it was a split room at the flag lot discussion meeting in February. It wasn't a unanimous all wanting to keep flag lots.
Okay, 5-3.
Yeah, give or take, yeah.
Okay.
It was 5-4 keeping them and 3 against?
Correct.
And you said earlier that the surrounding cities don't have flag lot. They prohibit flag lots. Is that right?
Yes, Roswell, Alpharetta, and Johns Creek.
Okay.
They probably don't have a lot of 10-acre lots or 3-acre. Probably don't have a lot of large lots.
Right, I would say that too. It's not.
When did
They've excluded them because they're more of a suburban type pattern, that there's not really a need.
When did they make those decisions to prohibit them?
I'm sorry?
When did they make the decisions to prohibit them?
It's been a while. I think Alpharetta was like 2000. It's been 20 years.
Yeah.
And then Roswell.
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
And all after they had lost what Milton has, right? I think that's your point.
Yeah, it's
And the
more
point that
suburban,
was
but-
trying to be made by the CPAC was that we want to preserve things. We want to preserve Milton. We want to keep Milton, to take a phrase at random here. The guys in Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Roswell, the horse had already left the barn, and it was up here in Milton. And we want to preserve this. You were in those meetings, and you listened to the people put in the words that described Milton. Beautiful, bucolic, horses, goes on. We put in, now, do we want it to read curb cuts, flag lots in the next comprehensive plan? I don't think that's what the CPAC was looking for. I'm sorry.
On Doris Road, there's 2 new houses that were put on 5 acres. It's an abomination. It looks ridiculous how they stuck the houses back there on a flag lot. So.
Yeah, and just to, on Ron, as you guys know, I use the comprehensive land use plan as kind of like the guiding beacon, the North Star for us. Because again, that's the document we have got the most citizen input on. It's a big project every year to update that. And flag lots are actually mentioned a couple of times in there. So if you look in the comp plan itself, page 102 to 103, it clearly says what new expanded sustainability issue should the city tackle next. 1 was recycling. Number 2, zoning restrictions, especially flag lots. Page 107, most of the support restrictions on flag lots because they contribute to higher density development and lower aesthetic qualities and detract from the view sheds. 73% of correspondents agree that the minimum lot width should be increased to 81. And then on 174, it says limit flag lots. While flag lots can be used to preserve rural character by allowing existing farms and rural homesteads to remain in addition with added lots to the rear, they are most notably used to maximize lot yields in new AG1 subdivisions, which disrupt the rural character. And then in one of the meetings that the Planning Commission had, I think it was January 28th, the presentation, we've got three things that encourage large lots. One is we're receiving an increased number of minor plot. Number two, increased minimum frontage from 100 to 150 on main roads. And number three is eliminate flag lots. So I guess I'd like to know what's changed since we did the comp plan to today. You know, if it's a room full of 5 or 8 developers trying to influence things, I don't agree with that. Because I don't know what's changed. I think our community's spoken pretty loudly about the flag lot issue. And it's documented right in the comprehensive land use plan. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, Michael, because I know you're just, you're
I hear you.
you're the,
Hold it.
well, in that case, no.
So, and I hear you all, but just in seeking clarification for what goes forward or what is in staff's, the 400 feet length is not a maximum. So there's no restrictions on how long your flag can be.
As long as the buildable area is 90%, essentially. So the flag stem can only be 10%.
I mean, just means you gotta have a bigger lot if it's.
Right, that's the
If it's
idea,
longer,
right, yeah.
Right.
if it's longer, the lot needs to be bigger.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then on your section 50-1 definition, I literally have HUH question mark. So I think some of the confusion there is that you were, in the first instances, you were using subdivision as a noun. And then in the last use of subdivision, it was a verb. And I kept reading it and rereading it going, I still don't know what defines a minor subdivision.
So let me just say
I
that
was having trouble following
we
it.
didn't create that definition. That's already there. That's just for your reference.
Oh, we might need, yeah. Oh, you mean the current code is sometimes confusing?
I didn't
Did anybody
understand
else
anything you
find
just
that
said. I'm
definition
sorry.
confusing, or was it just me?
Yeah, we just wanted, we took the definitions from the
So
code.
anything that's changed is in red.
Okay.
Yeah, we just gave that as a reference, but
I still had a, huh?
an issue with it. We can get to that in Article 13 under subdivisions.
Yay, I'll make note of it. Okay. If that's the case, if we're not, we could review that on a different agenda item.
Okay. Any more comments, questions, discussion points? Okay, with that, I'll open up to a motion.
Before you go, I had a couple of things that I just wanted
Yeah, that's fine.
to, in 3A1, and someone can tell me, is 1.5 acre or is it 1.5 acres grammatically correct? I don't know. I just know I normally say acres, but I could be grammatically wrong.
Is anything more than one, if it's 1.5, is that plural acres? Just grammar.
Shall be a minimum 1 1/2 acre.
I would say it would be plural if it's more than one.
1.5 acres.
That's my thought.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We can add that.
Make that
If
change?
it gets,
Yeah, I think I'd probably read flag lots, plural, shall be a minimum 1.5 acres in size.
Lots.
Yeah, we can make that change.
Yeah, and then in 2, I think I like the word constitute instead of count. Shall constitute no more than 10% of the total lot size. And that's.
okay.
those are the-
You don't want to comment on the other red lines? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. We'll take it.
So, all right, all discussion done. I'm willing to entertain a motion.
Can I make a motion?
Actually, back to 3A1, rather than flag lots shall be a minimum, is it just better to say a flag lot shall be a minimum?
That's fine too. I switched back and forth in my mind which way to go with it. Either way is fine with me.
Add A for A1.
I got that, yeah.
Okay. I think Trey, you were making a motion?
I'm Mr. Contrarian tonight. Must have been waking up on the wrong side. I would make a motion to say, to strike all of the language and say flag lots are not permitted in the city of Milton. I don't know if that's,
So are you
With-
basically making a motion to not recommend approval?
yeah.
Well, if you don't,
I'm-
it would still remain flag lots. So I think you would have to delete everything and say flag lots are not, somehow say something, because they are currently allowed. We were just amending it. So if they want to get rid of flag lots altogether, Paul, how would you say that?
I think you could have section 3 read, flag lots are prohibited, period.
Okay.
In the city?
Simple.
And
Keep Milton, Milton. So
Right.
I own a big piece of property, and one day I may want to put flag lots on it. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But seeing what it has done, it benefits the developers.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to eliminate flag lots. Is that,
if that's the recommendation of the motion, that's what I heard.
okay.
Yeah.
Does there need to be a definition of flag lots here? That, and then, of course, thereafter saying that they are not allowed?
Is there a flag lot definition already?
Yeah, in 64.
Yeah, so
There's-
then the definition could stay, so then they know what they're referring
Right,
to.
we have
Yes.
it defined somewhere if you go with
Yes.
it. Okay.
We do.
Okay.
Because no, I was just saying because in number 3, it doesn't have a definition. Like when you go back to the previous page where it talks about some of those other terms, it has like a definition. But here it just says flag lots, period, not like the definition after flag lots, period. And then you would go with whatever the motion is going to be for changing it. That's all.
Yeah, no, there's already a definition, so it's
Okay.
kind of like how we don't allow vape shops, but there's a definition for vape shops, so they know how to define it.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, flag lot, a lot where frontage to a public street is provided via a narrow strip of land forming a pole or stem to the buildable portion of the lot.
You see?
Okay, so I've got a motion.
I'm not sure, is the motion just to recommend revising 3 to read flag lot, this clarification, flag lots are prohibited in the city of Milton, in the city?
I think Paul just said flag lots are permitted or prohibited. Yeah.
Okay.
I would second.
Okay, we've got a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of recommending no flag lots in Milton, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Not a contrarian.
Okay, can you
Not a
all like raise your
contrarian.
hands, or I'm like,
Okay.
Sumit kind of like does it after, I was like, okay.
Sorry, I was-
Not a contrarian.
I'm not a contrarian. I'm a contrarian to the words, but not to the committee.
Contrarian to the city council.
All right, so.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Now, can we take bets on whether or not we'll see this again back from
So here's the council.
the council?
So, yeah.
All right, next item.
Do we want to add any, because that is contrary to guidance that was received by staff? Do we want any memo to go with it to say it's because it's contrary to what was in the comprehensive plan? Do we need to give a reason? Will they figure it out?
So, if you guys wanted to write something, I mean, we would say why you did it, but if you feel like you're more than welcome to write a blurb, and we'll put it in the memo that goes to council.
Okay,
Let me say, if you do that, it needs to be individually, or else it needs to get voted on
Yeah.
in a meeting.
So the first presentation is going to be for this.
We just.
July 24th, I believe.
July 20th.
can we agree on?
So what you referring to in the CPAC and what
The comprehensive land use plan? Yeah, I mean, can we do this right now? You know, all
Yeah, you
here.
could do that, yeah. You guys you want to write it and then just say it and then vote on it? Or you have it right in front of you that you're saying?
This is just copy and pasted from the comprehensive land use plan.
Okay,
So there's nothing written to tag along to explain our views on this. So I guess,
May I take a stab at
sure,
it?
I welcome that.
And I welcome edits. I'm
All right.
sure there will be ample. The Planning Commission recommends denial of, just a second, RZ 23-04 as it pertains to flag lots. It is the sense of the commission that the proposal does not adequately respond or reflect,
What is inconsistent with?
okay, that's good, is inconsistent with the views of as expressed by the community in the 2040 comprehensive plan. Thank you. Now this is different, I think. We recommend that, as was recommended by the CPAC, that flag lots be prohibited in Milton, as they have been in adjacent communities of Alpharetta, Roswell, and Johns Creek. We recognize that, we say this because we want to retain the beauty of Milton, which was called out numerous times by the residents of Milton. We do not want to give that up and become an Alpharetta, a Roswell, or a Johns Creek.
Do we want to add that flag lots are specifically addressed in the 2040 comp plan on pages
That's right. Go.
102 and 103, 107 and 174? We want to add that at the end?
okay.
I think that gives it,
Second.
all right? So we all agree with
So-
that. Does everybody agree with the amendment that was laid out by Ryan?
So it was like, you stated the letter. Who made the motion to approve it?
I thought he was
I
making the
did. I
motion.
was
and
making
You
the
did, you were doing it. Okay. Ron made the
Do we have a second?
motion.
That's the motion. She
And-
made
Judy
a second. You got to call for the
Commissioner
vote.
Birds did the second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Unanimous.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right,
Okay.
all this before we get to the fun of UDC.
We haven't even gotten.
We
to
haven't hit retaining walls.
yet.
This is what I've really been waiting for.
Uh-oh. Are you being sarcastic or for real?
Sorry, sarcastic.
Just trying to throw a
You're
little
being
levity in
contrarian
here.
tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a contrarian
Yeah,
like
there you
Trey.
go.
Okay.
All right,
So tonight, we're presenting as staff text amendment as it relates to retaining walls. The amendment clarifies how a wall's finish should be constructed without naming manufacturers or brand names and requiring the city architect's approval. In addition, the requirement to bring all retaining walls to design review board has been eliminated with the support of the DRB. They're in favor of that. And the amendment clarifies that walls above 4 feet in height requires engineer drawings. Lastly, by modifying the regulation, it allows for wing walls that are integrated with the structure to begin at a maximum of 10 feet and taper down at a 3-to-1 slope. This will enable homes to provide a walkout terrace level for the lot. The staff has also amended the various locations where the text appears to refer to section 64-2403 retaining walls to provide consistency throughout the code. In addition, staff has corrected the fencing requirements where necessary to be consistent with amendments approved by the city council in February of 2022. So I'm just going to walk through page by page. Seems like a lot. I don't think there's a lot, but, just want to walk through it with you. So first of all, with definition, and there was not,
Do you want to finish them all, or do you want us to comment as you go on each page?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What?
Do you want to go through the entire presentation, or if we have comments?
No, I
do you
want to
wanna
just
do a
go page by page now. That was kind of my presentation in general. So we'll
Okay.
just walk through page by page. So we have definitions that we've created. Retaining wall means a wall or similar structure used at grade change to hold soil on the uphill side from slumping, sliding, or falling.
So uphill is one word and
Thank
side
you.
is a word. So rather than up hillside, it's uphill.
Uphill side.
Up, what?
It should not be up hillside. It should be uphill side.
Side.
Okay.
Two different words.
Good catch.
Checking to make sure I
It took
read
me a while to even figure that out. I was going, what is an uphill side?
Okay. So now it would read, to hold soil on the uphill
Side,
slumping, huh?
on the uphill side from slumping, from slumping.
Uphill is
Uphill,
one
one
word,
word.
side is a separate word.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on that retaining wall? Okay.
Would you, just out of curiosity, it says hold soil from slumping. Should it be keep the soil from slumping?
Keep or retain, yeah.
Well, it's used at grade change. Is it to hold soil on the uphill side and to keep it from slumping? Or is it to keep soil on the uphill side from slumping? Is hold an action in addition to keeping it from slumping?
I believe you
Yeah.
hold it and you keep it from
Yeah.
slumping. It's
It's
two
two things.
actions.
Yeah, I think so. So it probably should say to hold soil on the uphill side and keep it from slumping, et cetera.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So that would read, retaining wall means a wall or similar structure used at grade change to hold soil on the uphill side and keep from it and keep it from slumping, sliding, or falling.
Yes.
Okay, wing wall means a wall that extends from an exterior building wall and is architecturally integrated into the design of the building to which it is attached. Good. Okay. The first section, this is just I think this comes from the State Route 9 overlay district that we don't have a lot of property that's within it, but nonetheless, we, under 64-1092C, we just made it consistent with as required by section 64-2403. So page 1. On page 2, just below the picture in J, within the Highway 9 overlay district, for whatever reason, it was at 55 inches and all of our fences are at 5 feet or 60 inches. So just making that consistent. So now we're going into the rural Milton overlay zoning district. We go to page 4. There's a discussion on retaining walls in F1. So again, we're deleting what is stated there and referencing as required by section 64-2403. In non-single family requirements for commercial and non-single family type uses on page 6. Again, fencing and height, fencing shall be constructed as required by section 64-417, which is the general requirements for fencing. And then deleted 2, and there's a new 2, which is retaining walls shall be constructed as required by 64-2403. And then there's an exception and what now would be 3. Opaque fences are prohibited in yards adjacent to a public street except as set forth in subsections B, 4A, and B.
I'd like
which-
to make that B4A and B4B of
Okay.
this section.
Okay. And so B4A and B4B, right,
And then of this section.
of this section.
Yep.
Okay. And going on. Skipping to, we're making progress here. Requirements for institutional type uses on page 14. Again, similar to the previous one, fencing in D1 in the middle of the page. Fencing shall be constructed as required by section 64-417. And then retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. Again, fix the numeration, so that'll be 3.
Same changes.
And then, and the same
Same.
change, yeah. And then the same edit as previous. Although it's kind of funny, it did say that, okay. Going on. Flip. To requirements for agricultural type uses, page 20. Again, fencing and height fencing shall be constructed as required by section 64-417. And then deleting number 2, and then should be a new number 2. Retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. Okay? So, any questions or comments for that section? Okay, so now we're going to go into the actual retaining wall section, 64-2403.
Before you get to the first
Yeah.
change, is that definition the same as what we just defined earlier?
Oh, okay.
It
know what?
either should come out
It's
or
not,
match it.
it's not, no. Obviously was not. I think what I did was I looked in definitions and didn't see it, and I forgot that it was already in here. So, I think we can go ahead and, I know in the UDC, we're trying to put all the definitions in definitions, and maybe this needs to.
I don't care where it goes, I just want them to be the same.
Okay. So what do y'all recommend? We just repeat what the original one was from 2403 to put it in the definitions, or leave it out of definitions? I'd like to have something in definitions of retaining walls.
So the other possibility is, since it's here now, we could leave it here and fix it in the UDC.
Yeah, I don't think if we haven't gone over that yet.
Do you have my definition? Yeah.
So in the UDC, it's not, the definition's not listed under that section. It's just left in definitions.
Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out if we've even gotten to the point where we've talked about retaining
We
walls
haven't.
under development.
Oh, I see.
I can't positively say that we've reviewed the article that retaining wall is contained in the UDC, so. Of your computer, can you do a search for in the Conveo just to see?
It did make it to the definitions.
So let's go back to that, but she's going to look to see if we've reviewed that yet in the UDC. So you know what I mean? I don't know. So you just need to do a search for retaining wall to see if we've it's in any of the previous, before Article 8. I don't remember. Okay, so with that said, we'll get back to that, the definition, but I want to talk about, we have created a new definition that I know it's not in anywhere, is wing walls. And
Well, actually, backing up a little bit, Robin, we're defining retaining wall here, but but you already added it to the definition of 64.1 on page 1. So should it be struck here?
well, I would be more comfortable with the original one under 6403. So that was my, you see what I mean? I repeated it. So what I'm asking is whether we've reviewed that article yet in the UDC that dealt with retaining walls.
Yeah, but you would also,
Okay, so we're not there yet. So we can fix that.
yeah, but here, even within this code, you're proposing to add a definition in 64.1 for retaining wall, which is not the same as what you've got.
Right,
on page
exactly.
20.
So what I was trying to determine is when we get to the UDC, do we pull it out and put it in definitions and repeat it, or do we just edit retaining walls?
Well, we can deal with the UDC. The question right now is, do we have one in definitions and the same one in 2403? Do we just?
No, I know they're different. And so I'm just saying, let's make them consistent for now. Okay. And
Do you
then we'll
want two or do you want one?
We want one.
And you want it in 2403?
I'm up for grabs for that, but
Do you want two instances of the same definition?
that's fine for now.
Okay.
Yes. And then we'll deal with it in the UDC when we look, because I know there's a separate definitions that we'll get to later, and then the retaining wall.
And you want this current on
Yes,
the
on
2403
2403,
definition
yes.
is now going to be also the definition that shows up in 64-1.
Yes.
Okay.
See page 20.
That red line is.
Got it. Thank you, Paul.
Okay. Okay, so under A2, and it's a new B, where we talk about wing walls are permitted up to 10 feet in exposed height. So must be a maximum of a 3-to-1 slope and shall not, it's not going to be 10 feet, but it's going to be 14 feet in length. So we're going to explain that. So if my wonderful assistant here can talk through it. And then if visible from an exterior street, it must be finished with brick or stone. So if you want to just talk about how we got to this diagram.
This graphic on the screen shows a wing wall right now. Our retaining walls are at a maximum of 6 foot. So there's no allowance for a higher wing wall attached to the house. So this would be a relief to give them the opportunity to go up to 10 feet. So on the graphic, you see the existing house to the left, a wing wall, which would be required to be structurally attached to the basement foundation, could also be at 10 feet. But the idea is for that wall to get down to the approved or allowed 6-foot height as quickly as possible. So in this example, the wing wall starts at 10 foot high, which is a maximum, extends out 2 feet, and then a 3-to-1 slope would be required for the wall to reduce to the 6-foot maximum height. In this graphic, we show a sloped wall, or the wall could be stepped. On my graphic, it's red. It's showing up on the screen as black. But you could also see the sort of dash line showing that they could step the wall as well. The idea is to not have a 10-foot high wall for 14 feet. But there is this would be a relief that the 6-foot high could extend up to 10-foot maximum, but then allow you to get down within 14 feet to that 6-foot allowed height. Any questions?
So are you saying BI should stay as it's written, or it needs to change to 14 feet?
14. Mhm.
And do we have in that same language anywhere on wing walls that they need, are the wing walls attached to the house?
So
Well-
wing wall means a wall that extends from an exterior building wall and is architecturally integrated into the design of the building. So it's in the definition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And it's more of a retaining wall, or it could be a poured wall. Like it could be, are we delineating what kind of construction? Can it be block or poured?
So
just
we
says
do have an
consistent with-
So it would need to be cladded with brick or stone.
But typically it would
But
be
typically
poured
it's a
because
poured-
it's part of the foundation.
That's
of the
correct.
Structure.
So it just said consistent with construction guidelines or something somewhere in here. But it has to be poured, or it could be block.
Right now, it's architecturally integrated.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, what that means.
I consider the block to be not attached. You could construct a block wall that's not structurally integrated in with that foundation wall. Typically, that foundation wall is a poured wall that then would be, you would extend it out for this
To
wing
daylight
wall.
the basement. So I can't imagine, I mean, I don't know. We can ask about
Yeah,
that to double check, but typically the intent of this is for a wing wall of a house that's integrated with the foundation so that it daylights a basement to hold dirt back. So versus a retaining wall could be, if it was free floating, it could be a cinder block and cladded with something, but I'm not
Correct.
so sure. We'll have to get back with you about.
Right.
Or we'll do a little research to see would anybody ever do a
Block.
a block wall
Block.
part
So
of a
it's-
foundation. I can't imagine holding up a basement would be a block
Right.
wall.
It's underneath retaining walls, which the picture that comes to mind for me is railroad ties or cinder block or some kind of block wall. Is there another section that would be more related to the foundation
Yes, yeah. So it's.
that
so
wing
this is
wing
only-
walls could be moved under?
Well, it is. So retaining walls is above, is 1, so that's, but
You see what I'm
later
saying?
on,
If-
we talk about the construction of a retaining wall. It can't be timbers.
Well, when I think retaining walls, I think free floating generally,
Right, yeah, correct.
sometimes abutted against the house. But rarely are they poured.
But they're usually poured if they're attached to the foundation, and that's a wing wall.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the question is, can we put wing walls somewhere else where it doesn't make it look like it's similar, equal to a retaining wall?
Retaining wall.
Yeah, I just don't know the code well enough. Is there a section that's for foundations or for? No. It probably doesn't matter, but are y'all tracking with me?
Yeah, does it say, design guidelines 4C on page 21, modular block wall shall be constructed of a.
Can you pull your mic down?
Yeah, Mike,
I can't hear
your microphone.
Isn't that addressed on page 21, section 4C, modular block wall shall be constructed with 3-piece system. The modular block style, block size, and material shall be approved by the city architect? Because I agree, I think most are block. I mean, I've seen a lot of retaining walls that are just block.
Yeah,
But
and I'm.
but that's typically, I see what you mean. Typically, that modular block would be a free-form site retaining wall, like a site wall, not attached to.
But I get the idea.
I mean,
that
they
you
can
want-
do that. I mean,
Right.
we have an example right now where they did a modular block wall that abuts the house, but it's not in an integral structure of the foundation.
So you couldn't do that for a wing wall.
This example is it's not a wing wall in the sense of the definition. It does abut at the location where a typical wing wall would be located, but it must be at 6 foot height. That's the thing. This modular block wall abutting an existing home that's not that's structurally integrated can only be at 6 foot height.
Right. It can't
So-
be higher.
And so that poses problems because if the topo is such that they need that wall to be higher, then we've offered a relief for them to be at a maximum 10-foot height, but then they have to get to the 6-foot height minimum within a 14-foot area, or length rather.
But I do hear you saying that it might be a good idea to separate a retaining wall discussion with the wing wall discussion.
Or you could stipulate that wing walls need to be poured concrete.
Yes, yes.
Because in the
I think
next,
our intent was, especially like on this graphic, when we say the note wing wall must be structurally attached to the basement, I think that was our intent. We could certainly expand upon that to say that it must be a poured in place wall, certainly.
I have a problem with that. Everybody else go to that?
But I like the idea that if we do have somewhere else within the code that speaks about the building and the foundation wall, that this, could it appear in both places?
So I did a search of all the code, and this is the places where retaining walls were, and maybe in the building code, but as far as zoning,
Okay.
this is all the
Okay.
places there was mention of retaining wall. So
okay.
Okay, I thought your point was you didn't want it to be by retaining walls. I don't care. I'm just trying to get an understanding of what we're,
So and I'm not an expert, but I'm not retaining like wing walls that are made out of block or timbers fail.
do they exist? We're not,
So that's what,
They do. I have a house.
They do, I mean.
right,
That
they
has a
do,
timber
but
wall.
I think when we talk about wing walls, it has to be
structurally.
structurally integrated with the house and the foundation. So
In order for it to be allowed at 10-foot height. So there are existing wing walls now that are modular block or maybe timber, but they're not over
Over
6
6.
feet.
right.
Got it. Okay.
Now, some of them may be, but the exposed part of the wall doesn't exceed 6 feet. So they can build a 10-foot modular block wall. But right now, to meet code, only 6 feet can be exposed. With this wing wall being integrally attached to the building, it can be 10 feet at height.
And then come down.
And then with these requirements, sloped or stepped for a length of 14 feet to meet the 6-foot maximum.
I think where I'm maybe getting stuck is on the term integrally attached. I mean, if you can lag bolt block to your basement, is that integrally attached or is it?
In speaking with our site engineer today, his explanation was that it's an integral part, like a poured wall, not an abutment to, or the foundation wall being poured and then the wing wall being applied separately,
Right.
attached separately rather.
Maybe that the term integrally attached means poured to professionals.
Correct.
I
And
just
that's
don't know
something
that.
and we can firm that language up, and I can certainly check with the site engineer.
So then does the retaining wall that the wing wall goes on top of, does that also have to be structurally integrated with the house?
So you wouldn't put a retaining wall on top of a wing wall?
No. I'm saying the wing wall on top of the retaining wall. Does the retaining wall have to be structurally integrated?
No.
Like you're
no.
saying the wing wall
It can be free
does?
floating in the yard somewhere, up to 6 feet.
Okay. But then when you add a wing wall, does the bottom portion, the retaining wall portion, have to already have been structurally integrated with the building before that wing wall can which also has to be structurally integrated with the building?
So it's one or the other, it's not both.
Correct. So typically, when you refer to a wing wall, that wing wall's location is integrated with the foundation of the house, or it abuts the house. So if they do a poured in place, an integrated structural wall with the foundation, that's our definition of the wing wall that can be 10 foot high. A modular block wall installed after the house has been constructed can be no higher than 6 feet. So you wouldn't refer to, in this example, the wing wall starts at where you see the elevation of 10 feet and then extends down to the 6 foot. So the 6 foot would be your actual retaining wall, but the wing wall attached to the house would be that classification.
Just seeking to understand, a house in my neighborhood was just built with this concept of a wing wall. And as I see it, the wing wall is a retaining wall because it's retaining the soil that's above it. So a wing wall is
a type of.
also a retaining wall.
That is correct.
But but it's literally, when you look at the side of the house, you look at the basement entrance, and then there's these wings that come out that retain the soil from up above. And then I kept saying, please put a fence on that. Please put a fence on that, because it's like a 10-foot drop.
Right, and there would be that requirement as well, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
maybe the reason
No,
that
no,
wing
I'm still-
wall is here is a wing wall
Both.
is also a retaining wall.
It
type
is a
of-
retaining wall.
No,
Yeah.
that is,
The
that is.
purpose of a wing wall is to hold up a patio or to daylight a basement. So it's it's retaining soil on the uphill side. But the location of that wing wall is separate than a site. If this is the house, I may have a retaining wall out here.
That's not
goes 6 feet.
attached.
It's not attached.
Okay.
As long as it's not more than
The
6
wing
feet.
wall attached to the house is indeed retaining soil, but it's a wing, it's an extension of that house.
Yeah. So once that wing wall comes in and now it's attached to the house, and you've got the portion above the 6 feet that is kind of the wing wall, I guess, right? And then that portion below is the retaining wall that's the 6 feet.
Right, so if this is the retaining wall.
At that
if
point,
you look at the
it's all structurally integrated to the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So my question is just making sure I understand, like, is there a need to be anything else that says that what I'm considering, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the 6 feet below, the 6 feet and under, that's the retaining wall, right? Let's say you have a retaining wall, like you said, separately. You have the house, this retaining wall, it's not touching the house.
Right.
Now you want to do a wing wall. The wing wall, you're saying, has to be architecturally integrated, or we're going to change that terminology potentially to structurally integrated. But then the retaining wall portion, that's the 6 feet below, now is also going to get attached to the house. Does that also have to be structurally integrated to the house?
It's probably still gonna be part of the poured wall.
Correct.
It's not, they probably wouldn't change from a poured in place wall and then switch to a block wall.
And
would
they
keep
may
it-
or may not, but I'm saying to make it clear from how we want it from a development standpoint. So do we also want to use the same thing when they put that wing wall in? The retaining wall portion also has to be structurally integrated.
I mean, in all honesty, once you get to that 6 foot height, it can be poured or block. It meets the requirements now of the maximum 6 foot.
Okay.
So I think this graphic and the relief is to address the wing wall height being higher than the 6 feet. So I see what you're saying now. When you get down to this 6 foot, it could go to modular block.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
have to be.
necessarily have to be
It's only the wing wall
integrated
portion
because
has to
it's
be.
already at our 6 foot allowable height.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's why I just wanted to make sure,
Correct.
like, do we need to be contemplating that once they put that wing wall in? Yes, I understand that has to be connected in the construction, but still the bottom portion is 6 feet that does or does not have to be you know,
Right.
we're not saying
Yeah.
it does. I'm
It
just
could
making
be,
sure that
but
we
it-
don't
not
need to say that it
necessarily,
does.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to say that.
Okay.
I think the focus should be the attachment, the abutment to the house.
For the
that
wing
10-foot
wall.
height, for the
Yeah,
wing
for the
wall,
wing
yes.
wall only. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, my suggestion would be to potentially change architecturally integrated. I don't know if that's a colloquial, that's a term that's used in the industry, or is it something else that's more kind of clearly defined so that
No, that's
we're all on the
certainly
same
valid.
page?
I think architecturally,
So back at the definition. change
Back to
that
64-1, yeah.
use the word instead of
architecturally,
but replace it with.
Or structurally integrated, maybe?
Right.
yeah, structurally
Structurally. yeah.
integrated.
So that's back to the definition on the first page. Yeah.
When we get to 21, I have comments.
Okay,
Before
louder,
you-
what?
We get to 21, I have comments.
When she gets to 21,
Okay,
she has comments.
okay. Okay, so I think, so we're good with the applicability and exemptions. So I guess one of the questions was, what about retaining walls? What's required of that? That was the question that was posed, correct?
What?
Is that answered?
I think all the questions on the table were answered.
Okay, okay. Now we're 21.
I have comments on 20 before.
Okay, but you have a couple things.
For B, just for consistency of how we read it, I think it should be even letter B should be a 1. I don't see I don't see 1 and 2, little I and little 2 I's are any different than the first thing. So wing walls are permitted up to 10 feet in exposed height. Wing walls must be a maximum of 3-to-1 slope and shall not exceed 10 feet in length.
Or 14
Wing
feet,
wall, if
yeah.
visible from an exterior street, a wing wall must be finished.
So you're just saying it should be C and D?
No, you should have A, and then B1, wing walls are permitted up to B2, wing walls must be a maximum.
Okay.
B and B.
But not with the regular numeral 1 and then number 2.
Like this right here.
Couldn't write
It
on.
should say B1,
Yes.
B2, and B.
Yes,
There we
yes.
go. Okay, yeah.
And then I think just consistently say, make them
is this
complete
right?
sentences.
It's got to be blocked whether you can see it or not.
Will be
a brick or,
screened.
no. If it's.
No, we said if it wasn't visible, Bob was.
Because
Okay.
it would be both sides. Because
Okay.
if you take like Bond Lake,
Yeah.
you see what I mean?
Okay, so we have under where it says, if visible from an exterior street, it must be finished with brick or stone, we'll just say, starting with must be
Doesn't matter if it's visible.
must be finished with brick or stone veneer, no matter where it is.
Okay, that's fine. You use the word wing wall as opposed to it.
Okay. Oh, should I say wing wall?
Yes.
Okay. And instead of must, say wing wall must?
Wing walls must be a
A
maximum.
wing
yeah.
wall must.
Shall not
Okay.
exceed 14 feet.
A wing wall must.
A wing.
Or wing walls, whichever, whether we're going singular or plural, I don't care.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
Wait, so could you read them? How you?
Yeah,
how
so
you're-
we'll read it here. Let me put it up here.
Oh,
So that says B1, wing walls are permitted up to 10 feet in exposed height. B2 would be a wing wall must be a maximum of a 3-to-1 slope and shall not exceed 14 feet in length. And B3, a wing wall must be finished with brick or stone veneer.
And I'm wondering for consistency, if B should just be like 1 is retaining walls, if B should just be wing walls, like a title, and then be 1 through 3
Fine with
under
that.
it. No?
I didn't see what.
Yeah,
So
Paul
having,
likes that.
having like retaining walls is a section
Right.
having wing walls.
Okay.
B wing walls and
B
then 1,
wing
2,
walls,
and then
and then
9.
having 1, 2, and 3.
But we'll have to add the 10 feet in exposed height underneath it.
No,
No, no, no, it would be like this. Let me show you. It would be. One, two, like this.
But then 3 needs to still,
I think I understood
Yeah.
what you said.
yeah, but 3 still needs to also have the if visible from an exterior street portion.
Well, they're striking
We
that.
said we're eliminating
We're
that. I'm
eliminating
wherever
sorry.
it
I
is.
was-
Oh, wherever it
yeah.
is. Okay,
It's
doesn't
just-
matter. Okay.
Yeah,
Because it
it's
would
like,
be front-
in my neighborhood, it's a side, but the neighbor has to look at it, so it needs to look nice.
Okay. That's 20. Now, 21, we'll insert the diagram. And then down to 3E, terracing. There shall be a maximum of 2 walls regardless of height for purposes of terracing. I, minimum separation between walls must match the highest segment of the wall. So,
Can we say between terracing walls?
okay. Between terracing walls. Okay. And then, so in G, I want to delete that because we're already dealt with it earlier. So that's what I meant. So G would be deleted in its entirety. The proposed. So it never was there, but the proposed is already dealt with on the previous page. And then G is the reference to the requirement to go before the design review board. So we're proposing to delete that. And then we're just,
Hang on.
yeah,
We're deleting, are we keeping the new G or did you say you're deleting?
deleting it.
Okay, so there is no G. Well, H becomes the G now?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay, and then the new G under permitting. A permit shall be required for all retaining walls that retain 4 or more feet of unbalanced fill. Any retaining wall greater than 6 feet tall allowed by variance shall require engineered drawings. Walls above 4 feet in height shall require engineered drawings. And then deleting 2, because walls 4 to 6 feet in height shall require engineered drawings or meet city standards. We just want everything 4 and above to have engineered drawings. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm speaking for you.
No, you're good. As long as you're good, we're good, we're good.
But so when you just say engineered drawings, do they still have to be approved?
Yeah, they'll still be reviewed. It's not like
Yeah.
by our
Yeah,
staff.
reviewed, right?
Yeah,
But you all would still have to approve those?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, under design guidelines, under C, modular block walls shall be constructed of a beveled 3-piece system, and deleting the types or the,
Well, the reference to the Diamond Pro.
right, to the actual type or
So that's specific.
manufacturer.
That paver, it's been hard for applicants to find. The supply is not there.
Yeah.
So we've been having to look at alternate designs that match, but every brand's a little bit different. But
So the new wording or additional wording is the modular block style, comma, block size, and material shall be approved by the city architect. So did you have some changes on 21?
You struck the one that I
Okay,
had
you were gonna work-
grammatically corrected and added and spelled height correctly.
I know, I
just-
did catch that before I struck that, but.
No, so back to that my question about the required engineer. So do we need to add on anything else to that section that just says that they still, it requires engineer drawings which have to be approved by,
For approval by.
that has to be approved by whoever needs to approve that.
So if a retaining wall is higher than 4 feet, it requires an engineer to certify the structural integrity of that wall. So it's not replacing the review from staff or from the engineer of that wall. It's simply referring to an engineer's certification of the structural. So if we need to change it
No,
somehow
but then if the engineer certifies it, let's say they get an engineer to certify it, but still that drawing is still presented to the city.
That's correct.
And the
Right.
city still has to
That's correct.
approve. So
But they
my
won't-
Well, that's
suggestion,
under
won't permit
permitting,
it.
so that, right? It's
Yeah.
under permitting.
They
it's
won't
an
permit it if they don't have this.
Yeah.
Well,
So
again,
is
this
it-
is just, here's my engineering drawings.
Yeah,
I
so,
returned to my engineering drawings. According to this, I should be okay.
I can't hear you.
I
so
said,
should we add the word?
yeah, I think you need to add something onto the end of that
because right now I
sentence.
can
So-
hand in engineering drawings
Well,
and
but
I've
it's
done my
under,
part, so it should be good then.
Or I was going to suggest.
Where do we say it has to be approved? I guess that's what.
I mean, I'm okay
Right.
with adding it. I didn't think it was an
necessary.
issue, but I don't have a problem with.
I was going to, I think, accomplish that by adding the words shall. So we talk about a permit is needed, but then shall also require engineered drawings. So you need a permit and engineered drawings. So they also require?
Which are approved by the city.
Right, approved engineering drawings?
Well, but
Yeah, the
it's-
approved,
City
yeah,
approved.
something that says that they're,
Well, it
also
already
approved.
says a permit is required.
Yeah, it's permitting. And so we have to review it and decide to approve or deny it.
But just having an engineering drawing does not get you a permit.
Right. It has to be approved, but I think that's the assumption that under permitting, that's part of the permitting process is that we review the documents submitted for that building permit or the permit, and then it's determined whether it meets the requirements or not. I don't
want someone to assume just because I have an engineering drawing, it's automatically approved.
If the city doesn't like it, they won't approve it if it's insufficiently
right, just because they give us,
engineered.
just because they give us a drawing doesn't mean it's automatically approved. So, yeah.
Up to you.
Okay. Okay. The next page is 4.7.1. This is crabapple form-based code F. Retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. And then I know there's a reference to screening or planting of evergreen, but that's already addressed under design guidelines. Under D on 21, retaining walls shall be landscaped to mitigate any adverse visual impacts. Plant species shall be selected to preserve the structural integrity of the wall. A planting plan shall be submitted to and approved by the city arborist. So the last few months, we've come into situations with retaining walls that just, even if you planted a bunch of Leland cypresses in front of it, may not accomplish what we're trying to do. So that's why it's general. So you.
Correct. So in essence, it could be interpreted that the screening the location of the vegetation must be adjacent to the wall, or it could be on the property line. Do you see what I mean? So I think there was some discretion about where the location of that vegetative screen was to be located. So this sort of addresses that location.
Right.
Yep. Do you want to correct other grammatical errors on this page while you're at it?
Sure.
So on the very the second line under 5, may be is 2 words, not 1. Maybe it's maybe. And then in 472, any thoroughfare or civic space, not of.
Okay.
We've been doing too much UDC review.
Okay. Going on to 23, the same edit of 4.7, Deerfield Form-Based Code, 4.7.1A2, retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. And I believe that is the end of that text amendment.
So given that this is aesthetics and construction to a large extent, will the DRB also have the pleasure of reviewing this?
We don't have it, no. If you wanted to go, if you want to recommend they go back, we can do that. It just, so, I mean,
When is this supposed to go to council?
the first read is the 24th of July.
So they could do it at the July 11th meeting.
Yeah, they can do a
Courtesy review?
well, but now, would it be okay? Because they really don't have, it's just going to be a courtesy review. They don't have to advertise for 30 days because it's not an action with ZPL.
Are they not, they want to, this body wants to bring it back?
They want the DRB to review it,
Oh,
but it's not like that's their purview to review text amendments.
right.
It's
I
just
guess,
that, I
I guess
mean, they're the.
if they don't conduct a hearing, don't make a decision,
And make recommendations.
not as a body,
So it would just be a courtesy review?
Well, I mean, that's kind of,
Or does
if
it?
they take an official action, I mean,
Yeah, I just feel kind of like, I don't know anything about, this is kind of like I'm writing a text amendment
Yeah.
that will need to be enforced by the DRB.
well, that's tough because they don't have to conduct a public hearing if, I guess it would be an agenda item for them to review it. I would say send it back to them requesting comments, and we'll get back to them on how they should handle getting those comments back to you.
it's not going to go back to you, but we could say, I don't want it to hold up again to come back to you if they
No,
have any
I
comments.
don't need
but
them to, I just,
want to have their input before it goes to council. Okay.
since it's more what they review and enforce, not us.
Okay.
Why don't you make your recommendation to the city council, include a comment or recommendation that the DRB provide comments if desired. And we'll take it from there.
You mean for the council to direct
And then the
that?
council
Well,
could make changes to the text
We,
amendment.
between Ken and the council and myself and staff, and we'll work out how that gets handled before the city council hears it. Unless you can't make them hear anything.
No.
You can't remand it to them because it
We
doesn't
can
go to them in the first
request
place.
that they review.
You can just recommend, I think your scope is to recommend to the city council that they get DRB's input before they vote on it.
But they won't meet, they won't meet again before DRB.
No, I know. I mean, the DRB will meet on the 11th.
But city council meets on the 10th.
Right, I know, but it's not even going to first presentation till the 24th. So I guess I'm a little lost.
I don't know what the problem we're having at there may be, I don't know what the timing issue is because I'm not following the dates that we're talking
So
about.
the next DRB is the 11th, and if we don't need legal advertising, we could have it like as a courtesy review. And then present
I
it.
think we will be able to, but it doesn't change
Their
what
recommendation.
what your recommendation is.
Right.
For tonight, you can just, I mean, as much, the scope of what you can do is recommend that the DRB here do something, make a recommendation before the city council votes.
Okay.
Whether that occurs or not, you can only make a recommendation that happen
At least on
anyway.
record.
I'd like to make a motion that we request the DRB to review these text amendment changes.
So do you have a recommendation to approve or with
Oh,
condition?
no, I want them, I'll do that next.
Oh. I think you can
But
you
then-
just do it all in one
I mean,
motion?
you could do it all in one, but separate is fine.
Okay.
Also.
All right, is there a second on getting the requesting? All right,
Second.
Ron's a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, so we made a lot of changes.
Okay.
And there are a lot of little ones.
Yeah, you want me to go through them?
So can I say, so can you go through it and then we can just make a motion to approve?
After I go through them? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay,
And if there's something I missed, just chime in.
okay.
Okay. So under definitions, section 64-1, there's already a retaining wall definition, so we're going to copy it from the 64 dash
2403.
2403. So then the wing wall definition, new one, means a wall that extends from an exterior building wall and is structurally integrated into the design of the building to which it is attached. Further on page 1, C, retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. And then to page 2, under J, changing 55 inches to 60 inches regarding fences. We'll skip to page 4, under F1, retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. And then going forward to page 6, under D, in the middle of the page, fencing and height. Fences shall be constructed as required by section 64-417, and deleting that original sentence. And then deleting number 2 under D, and then creating a new 2 that states retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403. And then there's a new 3. Well, it's number 3 now. Opaque fences are prohibited in yards adjacent to a public street except as set forth in subsections B4A and B4B of this section. Right? Okay.
Yep.
Going on. Flip. Under page 14, D, fencing and height. 1, fencing shall be constructed as required by section 64-417, and deleting what was there originally. Deleting number 2, fences in yards adjacent to a public street shall not exceed 60 inches from finished grade. The new 2 is retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403, and deleting the remainder of that paragraph. The new 3 under D is opaque fences are prohibited in yards adjacent to a public street except as set forth in subsections B4A and B4B of this section.
Okay.
And then going on. to page 21 at the top. We'll insert the diagram that was shown.
Page 20.
Yeah, page 20, there was substantial changes on 20.
Oh, you know what?
It's on the-
Somehow I don't
I think
have
it's on
20.
the
I think you took
prompter.
my
It's
20.
on
It's
the-
on the, it's on the, to the left. Sorry.
I was looking for it earlier. I thought Tracy had stolen it. Oh, well. Okay, 20, under D, fencing and height. 1, fencing shall be constructed as required by section 64-417, and deleting that sentence after that, deleting number 2 of D, and the new 2 is retaining wall shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403, and deleting the remainder of that paragraph. Now on to the actual 64-2403 retaining walls. Under 2, applicability and exemptions. A, retaining walls measuring a height of less than 4 feet, which shall be exempt from requiring a permit. So then, this is where B1, wing walls.
No,
You
just
might have to come and help
B,
me.
wing
This
walls.
is, I guess, B, wing walls, and then 1.
Okay. Okay, and then 1.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so 1, under B, wing walls, 1 is wing walls are permitted up to 10 feet in exposed height. And then B2 is a wing wall must be a maximum of a 3-to-1 slope and shall not exceed 14 feet in length. And then B3 is a wing wall must be finished with brick or stone veneer. Okay. And then the next page, 21, will have the diagram that was presented. And then to the middle of the page, under 3E, terracing, there shall be a maximum of 2 walls regardless of height for purposes of terracing. The new I, or 1, is minimum separation between terracing walls must match the highest segment of the wall. And then delete the proposed G in its entirety. And then the regular G, delete design review. All retaining walls requiring a permit shall be reviewed and approved by the City of Milton Design Review Board prior to issuance of the building permit. So then it's still H remains the same. And under I of H is walls above 4 feet in height, striking 6 feet shall require engineered drawings, and then deleting number 2. Walls 4 to 6 feet in height shall require engineered drawings or meet city standards. And then under 4, design guidelines.
Just for clarification, H becomes G. We deleted both Gs.
Right, yeah.
And then did we not want to insert some wording that either the retaining wall will also require an engineered drawings, or that the clarification that the engineering drawings are for city staff approval?
I mean,
That's
it's
my
up to you. I mean,
suggestion. My suggestion is that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just clear.
Yeah, so insert after shall require engineering drawings for city staff approval,
what did you say at the end?
or city staff approval.
Well, it should probably be for city staff review and approval.
View, that's true, because you may deny them. Yep.
Okay. And then 4, under design guidelines, C, modular block wall shall be constructed of a beveled 3-piece system, deleting similar to the Anchor Diamond Pro stone cut system, and then inserting a new sentence, the modular block style, block size, and material shall be approved by the city architect. And then on page 22.
Before you go on to 22, I hate to do this, but could we go back to terracing, which is 3E, and number 1 under that? Terracing talks about 2 walls, right?
Right.
Number 1 says minimum separation between walls must match the highest segment of the wall. There are 2 walls. To which wall is
No,
that
it's supposed to be
referencing?
between terracing walls, the first one.
Yeah?
And before that walls is between terracing walls.
Okay.
But it's saying, well, which one? If it's 2 different heights, then which does it equal? I
Yes.
get that. We could say of the highest wall or lowest wall. Well, you'd want it the highest wall, so there'd be more
Highest
separation.
wall.
Right, so if it's maximum, I mean, if the highest wall is 6 feet in height, then it would be a 6-foot separation. But if
Even
the,
if the other one was 3 feet,
Or-
we'd want
yeah.
it to be 6 feet, right?
So are
correct.
you
I would say,
suggesting it be the highest segment of the highest wall?
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm asking.
Well, I think that's a
What are you
good
trying to
catch.
say?
I think that's a
Trying
good
to
catch
say,
too.
can
And
it be
I think you're right. I think the highest part of the wall would allow you more separation.
Right.
Highest part of which wall?
The highest wall.
Highest wall.
Yeah.
The highest wall.
Okay.
Can you tell me what page this terracing is on? I can't
21.
go back and find it.
21.
It's page 21
E.
in the middle
EIEIO.
of the document.
Jackie?
21. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh.
It's not in
They're
the
in the
back.
refrigerator.
No, it's empty.
Are you
Go
getting water?
upstairs to the
Thank you.
cold water. There's some in the big Milton conference room.
Thank you. I'm sweating more than I thought.
Water?
I'll take one.
Water.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just a bunch of them.
Yeah, just as
As
many
many
as
as
you
you
want.
can carry.
But they're in that refrigerator in Milton room.
Thank you, Jackie.
All right, so what's the final verdict on
I think
that
we should get
sentence?
hazard pay, right, y'all? You want to double your $50 for tonight?
Terrace and walls.
We don't take.
We don't get it. We don't take it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Minimum separation between terrace and walls must match the highest segment of the highest wall.
Yeah,
Must
Perfect.
match the highest segment of the highest wall. Okay.
yeah,
Sounds good.
Sounds.
okay,
I'm past that. I don't want people to think I'm just.
okay.
Mhm.
So page 22, and I'm sorry, Judy, I didn't get your first
Under-
grammatical fix.
Maybe is 2 words on 5, the second line of 5.
Okay, oh. Okay, and then under 4.7.1F, retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 642403 and deleting the remainder of that paragraph. And then I did get this one, 4.7.2. It should be any thoroughfare or civic space by either. That one, okay. Then page 23, 4.7.1A2, retaining walls shall be constructed as required by section 64-2403 and deleting the remainder of that paragraph. And then that is it.
I recommend approval of RZ 23-05 as stated by Ms. McDonald.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Perfect. Okay, I think it's Jackie's turn. I know. Somehow we should put you in the front.
And Jackie, you've had to sit through all this just for, we should have, I'm sorry, we should have moved you up. So you could have gotten home
I
earlier.
learned a lot, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Although compared to the UDC there.
All right, good
All right,
evening,
Jack,
Planning
okay, sorry about
Commission.
the delay.
Big time.
Well, let's wait for water.
They're at least in the air conditioning, so they're colder than us. All right.
Oh, if you-
Thank you so much.
Keep it.
Thank you.
I got one here.
Anybody else? I can put them in there.
Nope.
You guys want some?
I'm
Oh, I
good.
want one.
Does Robin want one?
Robin's problem.
I'm good.
I'll put them in the fridge.
Too bad. We should move Jackie in. Too bad.
I think she was just wanting to be here for the
sure it
knowledge, the training.
All right.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. I'm here to provide the Planning Commission updates on the Comprehensive Plan Short-Term Work Program. I'm happy to report that we recently completed a few projects this year. First on the list is Urban Growth Boundary, that is STWP IDLU 9, perform due diligence and planning to implement urban growth boundaries. As part of our efforts to help maintain and preserve the rural character of Milton, the city performed, of course, due diligence to implement urban growth boundary. This project went through a series of public engagement process, participated by the stakeholders committee, the city council, and of course, our citizens. Mayor and council approved a resolution to establish an urban growth boundary on May 1st, 2023. The approval of the UGB just shows our commitment, again, to protect Milton's heritage. And please note that the completion of this project also fulfills the strategic plan priority, which is this smart land planning to keep Milton unique. In the area of,
Jackie,
oh, yes.
is the next step on that to update the comprehensive plan?
Yes. So staff will be working with the director, community development director, to see what we can do and reach out to DCA about the required or the process to do that. In the area of sustainability, we completed project as 5E, promote water harvesting and reuse. So promote the use of rainwater harvesting to meet irrigation needs in new subdivisions and mixed-use developments. So Public Works staff added an environmental section in the city website that includes information to educate and promote at-home rainwater harvesting, rain barrels and gardens, and how these best practices can help reduce harmful runoff into streams and lakes. So the two pictures below are actually our Fire Station 41 and 43. They have their rain barrels. So for transportation, this project is also completed. Explore the creation of a streetlight management program to improve monitoring conditions, proactive measures, and efficient reporting of outages. So for this one, the city has implemented the C-Click Fix, an online web application that allows citizens to report issues so the city can resolve them accordingly and in a timely manner. So issues such as streetlight outages, traffic lights, potholes, code enforcement violations, and more. Again, implementing this platform also completes the short-term, the strategic plan priority.
Jackie, I think
yes.
this is a great, pardon me, I think this is a wonderful project. And you're going to be collecting a lot of data as the complaint comes in.
That's correct.
And there's going to be a time to completion or whatever the process might be. As part of this project, are you tracking that data? Is there a way to track the data to say, okay, it came in on such and such date, and this has been completed in 5 days versus an expected goal of 7 days?
Okay.
Are there any metrics to judge the performance here?
Okay, I will have to check with Public Works on this. I'm not familiar with the capability of C-Click Fix, if it's capable to generate data. So currently, as far as I know, you can submit issues and then we can respond. But maybe there's something in the back end of this program that allows us to generate.
Well, really, I hope it does, because it strikes to the core of the efficiency of the organization.
Correct.
The front end has now been streamlined, but do we have metrics to assess our own performance?
Okay, I will take note of that. And then we'll get back with Plan Commission next month.
That'd be great. We'll have the air conditioning going then.
Yeah, okay.
Promises, promises. Such a smooth talker.
All right, next is last Monday, June 19th, Mayor and Council approved two things. First, the text amendment to Chapter 64 Crabapple Form-Based Code as it relates to the district of at Mayfield. And second, the concept plan for the district. So although this is a non-comp plan project, but specifically this is also considered land use. But with this project completed, the scope of work, the scope of work has been completed. And so therefore this whole project is, check out of our list.
Checked off.
So I guess, moving forward, any new developments that will happen in that district, we'll make sure we go to a regulating plan to make sure that, any developments conform to that.
Great.
Next one is Unified Development Code. We're still continue to review. Tonight, I think part 2 of the Article 8 will be reviewed. And then upcoming reviews, as you can see, we still have Article 9, 10 to 13. But I think Article 12, the date is still to be determined. So I'm not sure. Robin, do you suggest
We talked about
for a work?
having a work session in August, right? That's because we hadn't projected out. So we just propose and then
Okay.
what was the date that worked for the council chambers?
I believe it's
The
as
12th?
long as we do the second Wednesday of the month.
Yeah,
We'll
second
stay to that.
Wednesday of August.
Of August.
So the 9th.
9th?
Yeah.
All right.
August 9th.
Of course, flag lots.
The 7th is the first day of school.
School starts on the 7th. Is that a
Exactly.
conflict for anyone?
The 7th is when school starts. Yeah, so it's the 9th. Yeah.
So what date is that?
The school starts on the 7th. I don't know if that week tends to be kind of cray-cray busy.
I'm always busy. It doesn't matter. That's fine.
I actually have on my calendar August 16th for a work session already on my calendar. Is
Oh,
it-
do we already have it projected?
For Article 12. I have to check because we did cancel the May one, so it kind of moved.
It might have been the
everything.
original. I thought we looked at our original
Yeah,
proposal.
it's on my calendar. For
Was
the
it a
16th.
Wednesday or a Thursday?
Wednesday, the 16th,
Of July.
August.
Oh, August.
August. So I
Okay.
think there's would that be a conflict?
But were we trying
if
to
it's the third?
schedule
I
them
will check.
2 weeks out?
Maybe
Like
there is.
work session
because
and
it's
2
the,
weeks later, planning commission?
Yeah.
Because when's the planning commission?
So let's,
The next week,
so
right?
the equestrian committee meets on the third one, so that's why
That's why,
we'll
okay.
probably
Yeah.
fix it to go back, because anyway, so we'll double check the date on that.
I have a conflict on the 9th, but you all are, I trust you with Article 12.
All right, next is, of course, a short-term work program, LU7 flag lots. You've heard the presentation from Michael Cardeman, and now we're going to present it to the council on August 7th with the recommendation from the Planning Commission to RZ 2304 to prohibit flag lots in the city of Milton. Next is focus on Deerfield character area. The first community meeting for Windward and Highway Strategic Master Plan was held last month at the North Fulton CID office in Avalon. The public had the opportunity to learn about the project, ask questions, and provide feedback. In addition, there was also an online employer survey directed to employees in the district to share their opinions on the study. So I believe they received 808 responses that contains information on the working, commuting, and retail habits of those surveyed. The next step for this one is that the core group will meet in July to go over that survey results and discuss the next steps in the project.
That seems like a lot of responses.
Yes,
So very good job.
So I think that includes also Alpharetta, right?
It is people that works in that district,
District.
so they send it to mostly like the employers.
Okay, good.
And lastly, we conducted a branding study early this month. During the workshop, we met with 7 focus groups to share and learn about the overall community character and values from various perspectives. So these groups include the city staff, real estate, equestrian community, developer community, business community, green space, parks and arts. And then, of course, there's a 2 public meeting that was held here in the chamber and one in Deerfield, our public safety complex. So after the 2-day workshop, the stakeholders committee also met to discuss feedback gathered from the workshop. This also includes discussion of the survey data, the branding statement, and of course the colors, fonts, icons. Do you have a question?
Oh, well, I thought you had stopped. Keep
Okay.
going, finish, and then I'll
Yeah.
ask you a question.
And yes, the next step for that is consultants will prepare the draft of the branding study and then schedule the next stakeholders committee meeting. We'll present it to council, and then of course, there's probably another opportunity for another public engagement.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
At our last stakeholders meeting, we gave them feedback on their branding statement and
Yes.
other things. And I was thinking actually earlier today that it's due about now, isn't it? Or when is it expected to
So
be?
we're waiting a response from the consultant about that. I think Anita reached out to them, but I didn't get a chance to meet with her this afternoon to check,
Okay.
if they responded, but I'll check.
All right, thanks.
And again, important dates, flag lots, August 7, UDC code. We have a work session, that's July 12, to review Article 9 site development, and retaining wall is part of it, Robin. And then next planning commission meeting, July 26. That's all I have.
Great.
So wait, Jackie, what do we have for next planning commission? We just have the text amendments for the,
For the ZPL and then the alcohol, I believe.
we don't have anything else?
I don't think
That's it.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all we have.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Jackie.
Great, yes, thank you, Jackie, appreciate it. All right, we're done with the fun stuff. Now, under old business, we need to review the
I think this is your-
UDC, what's left of Article 8.
Where do we start on that?
I think we start at, where do we leave off? Section
Just read-
8.4?
Just start at 88-62 page.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you have to speak up.
We're saying we left off on page 8-62? Section 8.4.5?
I have some extra.
Yes. I remember this.
That works.
Are you sure we want to entertain this, Mr. Chair? This might heat the room up a little more, these topics.
What was that?
I was questioning whether we should entertain the discussion of these sections right now because it might heat the room up a little more.
Yeah. That's why I kind of asked Jackie what was the next planning commission meeting.
How long is not, and how long is 9?
I'm sorry, what?
How long is section 9?
How long is section 9?
Or what is section 9?
Let's see, I don't remember.
Well, while you're looking that up, one of the things that I found to be interesting, because I was kind of like reading these first couple pages going, really? And perhaps Paul can advise us on this, but what I was basically finding is that the U.S. Constitution under freedom of speech does not allow you to outright prohibit this. But what many people do is instead address it with zoning laws and additional use permits. Because you can't, from what I understand, it's been found that you cannot expressly prohibit them.
Correct.
So that hence all this language, but the language is around trying to define the zoning requirements and then also in our case, what we call a use permit for licensing.
Yeah. The, Robinson Conference. I'll hold my question because it's for her,
Okay.
but it's related to that.
So there's, it's 65 pages, but there's a lot of charts and pictures. It's site development. I mean, like the charts is off-street parking, so it's not like having to compare uses. It's
Not like last time where.
So am I sensing we're looking at pushing this to?
Well, we're still
incorporate?
having we have a work session this month, right? Still? No, we're in August. We had one. Oh, it's in August. Yeah, I'm
It's in
sorry.
July.
Can't believe it's almost July.
Where's the time go?
You want to ask your question and then we can make a motion?
No, let's figure out where we're going here.
Okay.
Because I'll save it. If it's deferred,
Yeah.
I'll save it.
I have to say it's rather hot
Yeah,
and
we have a good excuse.
There you go. I'll make a motion. I'll make the motion. Can we defer reviewing Article 9 to the next, is it work session or planning
It'll
commission?
be work session.
To the next work session?
Okay.
It's Article 8.5, right?
I'm sorry,
or
Article
the
8.
second half of
Yeah,
Article 8.
second half of Article 8. I make a motion to defer the second half of Article 8's review to the next work session for the planning commission.
I'd second.
Okay.
Third.
Ron? Who did the
Everybody
second?
seconded it.
I think there was a tie.
Oh,
here.
okay, you guys were
Give it to
fighting over
Trey.
it?
All in favor of deferring that, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous.
Awesome.
Okay, so that means an adjournment.
Just
Yes,
one question.
I'll make, go ahead.
The work session we had discussed, we still need to get the review of our bylaws back on one of the future agendas. Is that something we have to do in a regular session rather than a work session?
I think so. I mean, you have to vote on it, so.
All I heard was bylaws for the most part.
Many moons ago, we discussed reviewing and updating our bylaws for the planning commission. And I questioned whether that could be done in a work session or had to be done in a session.
You can discuss what you want to do with it at a work session. It must be adopted at a regular session.
Okay. And we can adopt a change to the bylaws. We have to recommend.
No. The bylaws, you have the authority
We
to.
do. Oh, okay. We
Pretty
have
sure.
authority. So that would be my
You can't
only.
adopt the bylaws that would conflict with the statutory or the ordinance
Take
requirements.
the wind out of our sails. Real nice.
Okay.
You
So
give it, then
you
you
want
take it
to
away.
bring it up at the next work session too, or?
We're going to try to do second half of 8 and
Yeah, I
9
think
at
it
the
might
next
be.
work session, maybe the next regular council meeting.
Okay.
Planning commission meeting, yeah.
Since we
Okay.
have to,
But I agree, we don't lose sight of that. That's something I agree, we don't lose sight of that. That's something we definitely want to take a look at, just
If,
when it fits.
if there's anything in particular that you're interested in or want to see drafts of beforehand, it might be helpful to, I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, or if you just want to talk about it and see what you want to change, and then we'll come back with a draft at another work session or
Well, that's
another
a
meeting.
possibility. We
You can
could-
do whatever you want.
we could bring any points like, gee, I think we need to focus on 1, 5, and 7 in the work session, and then we can actually discuss them in the,
Get it accepted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
When is our next work session?
Sorry, what?
When is our next work
When's our next
session?
work session?
We're going to double check, but I think it's going to be the second Wednesday because there's a conflict
Okay.
with the third.
You'll email us then?
I thought it was July 12th.
Yeah, what happened July 12th?
Or whatever.
Okay.
It's one in July?
Yeah, July 12th.
Yeah.
July 12th.
All right, so we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
We'll get back to you. It's just,
Okay,
if it's the third Wednesday, well,
No.
there's a equestrian committee, so they don't want us to do it the same night because we
That's it.
can't have it
Why 12th
recorded.
is the second?
Yeah, because they've moved into this room.
Okay.
So we'll get
Okay.
back to you tomorrow, or the next day, about exactly what
Get to
day.
move to adjourn.
Okay.
I would motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, it's unanimous.
Record.